Hey, hey, hey. Happy Saturday, y'all. Happy Saturday. Look, I sense that a lot of people outside, they in the streets. Moving, I sense a lot of people out in the streets. It's nice and pretty outside. Definitely where I am. It's nice
Yeah,
sun,
yeah,
right? Lots of
mhm,
graduations, lots of
yeah.
festivals. I took my foot.
Wow.
During the
Mhm.
carnival a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I
But
saw some of your postings. I was cracking up. I say, you go, girl.
look, to be 50, right? To be 50 and fabulous, right?
I
We were
hear
just
you.
talking about getting older.
I hear you. I hear
Yes,
you.
sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. But it's good to see
Mhm.
you. It's been a while since we talked like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good to see you too, man. I mean, we haven't merged
yes,
in that kind of setting for a while.
for a
And
while.
it's always exciting to talk to you and to link up, man.
Me too,
Yeah.
me too, me too. We got lots to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
I've broken it down into two little categories, right?
Mhm.
One is I want to get a little bit of your diaspora story, because I haven't had you on yet for your diaspora story. I said, should I get from him tonight or
I
have him?
don't know if I don't know if I have a diaspora story.
Everybody has a diaspora story.
You're
Everybody.
gonna have hold my hand through that process because I don't know what I'm gonna say.
So I like talking to, I say, interesting Dominicans, and I think anybody who has left Dominica is an interesting Dominican because the amount of work and effort and resources and ups and downs that you have to experience
Yeah,
from the time you leave to the time you get your footing. Many of us can write several books.
I hear you.
Many of us can write several books. So I want to get a little piece of your diaspora story, and then I want
Mm.
us to do a review, just a check in. 6 months. Can you believe it? It is June the 10th already.
Yeah,
6 months.
yeah,
6 or 7. Really, since the election. At least
yeah.
7, going on
Yeah.
8.
Almost 7.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So everybody knows we're talking about Dominica, the Commonwealth of Dominica, and not the Dominican Republic. I
Right.
wish one day I live for the day when we don't have to say that anymore, but I don't know if that's ever gonna be.
Man, yeah, and it's kind of hard to even think that at this time we still have to take the time to say that. Yeah. I say interesting. It's still interesting that we have to be doing that.
And it's like that's everybody's story, essentially.
Yeah.
Every Dominican
Yeah.
I've spoken to has that story.
Yeah.
So as we speak about Dominica, when I say diaspora story, I guess I'm interested in how did you get from Dominica to here to where you're Mr. Georgia right now, aren't you?
Uh, well, I mean, it's an interesting one, really, because I resisted the idea of living Dominica for a while. I mean, I the opportunity was there for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there were more than one opportunities. Very few people know about that because I kind of dismissed it and dismissed it and dismissed it. Um, but I've always said uh, my mother is somebody that I once she said it, it almost became irresistible for me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And my couple of my other siblings, particularly on my mother's side, had already done their thing.
Mm-hmm.
They'd left, and mommy had left for more than one reasons. Mommy had medical issues that she couldn't have gotten the necessary treatment in Dominica, and she
Mm-hmm.
settled in the United States. And mommy was like, you have kids, do something. I mean, do you really want to sit down and so on? But in my mind, I was comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Had gone through the ranks in the public service, was
Mm-hmm.
somewhat up there, and felt, I want to live down the kid.
You spent over 30
But
years, right, in the public
I
service.
worked, actually, I worked 30 years and 8 months. Yeah, in the government service. Yeah. And
Wow.
that's unbroken because I started young. Um, and, so there was a sense of um, accomplishment, like, man, I
Hmm.
ain't got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
But then certain things, certain realities started becoming heavier on me.
Hmm.
And then I realized, man, if I could do something to give my kids an opportunity or a better opportunity.
Hmm.
So I wasn't necessarily doing it for me.
Yes.
And even at that time, when the decision came for me to leave, I left, and my kids and my wife had left before me. I was still at home,
Uh-huh.
still at home. Uh, you know, yeah. And then anyway, I eventually left and started in the Virgin Islands because the government asked me to serve there.
Okay.
And for many people, for I think it's an opportunity to clear the air on one thing.
How so?
I think many people think that the government sent me to the United States Virgin Islands.
Hmm.
It was an offer, a request to serve,
Yeah.
to because I was leaving, and I figured, well, it's a good opportunity, so at least
Hmm.
it gets me a start. But things didn't work out as both sides expected. Uh,
Mm.
and I'll be very candid. I have no reason to, be dishonest about anything. Uh,
Right.
people didn't people didn't hold up to the end of the I don't want to say bargain, but the agreement.
The expectations that you
Yeah,
had. Hmm.
yeah. Well, not only me, the expectation that all of us had. When I say
That
all of
was
us,
said.
both sides. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think as soon as I left Dominica, everything changed because there was there was another expectation, a new expectation that was placed upon me
Hmm.
to somewhat uh, continue to toe the line and operate in business as usual. And I thought that I was my own person and I had to carve out my own modus operandi, so to speak. And
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
didn't rub too well with some people. And so the boat started taking some water.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So I figured, I figured I needed to jump before that boat sank and probably took me down.
Yes. Ooh,
And that's a loaded statement. So,
I get that.
yeah,
Hmm.
but yeah, so things, and I think it's important for me to say that because a lot of people, there's been a lot of different
Theories.
reasoning and
Hmm.
theories as to
Hmm.
what happened, whether I made demands and my demands were not met and I was upset and all of that,
Hmm.
all that. And I wouldn't go into all the nitty gritties because if I am to do that, then it will
Hmm.
just open up a whole bunch of stuff, which to me at this point is unnecessary.
Yes.
But just to
And you
say,
say it's unnecessary because
well, I mean, I've moved on.
there you
I've
go.
moved on,
There you go. Yes.
So like the old people say, bygones are bygones. I've moved on.
Yes.
I mean, if the need arises for me to defend my integrity,
Right,
then
right, right,
absolutely I will. But at this point in
right.
time, I have bigger things ahead of me.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have better things ahead of me.
Hmm.
When I say better, meaning my own personal life, my own,
Hmm.
and my whole trajectory in life has sort of um, been better stabilized,
Hmm.
somewhat changed. So I have no reason to, rehash certain things other than to say that it's not what many people thought were the reasons that I jumped off the ship and left the Virgin Islands.
Hmm.
I thought there was a lot of, disingenuous things said,
Hmm.
and all of that. But that's fine. I could deal with that. And yeah, so got into mainland Georgia,
Hmm.
settled there for a while. Interestingly, um, at some point, I think after a couple of years here, 2 years or so, or copies, I don't remember. I went to Maryland where I
Mhm.
was interviewed for a job, pretty fairly good job.
Mhm.
I started, and the plan was
Okay.
to settle there until COVID just popped up.
Oh.
Yeah, and everything changed. So I stayed over there for about 6 weeks.
Mhm.
Things didn't look like it was going to get better anytime soon.
Mhm.
This particular job was it was in the marketing field, but it was a very reputable, very, very reputable um, hotel
Company.
organization. Yeah.
Okay.
And at that point in time, it was like, yeah, this ain't going to cut it. And so I decided, you know what, let me go back to Georgia. And I came back over here and continued to do little stuff, looking at my options, still
Mhm.
looking at my options. Um, at that point in time, my experience in the public service back in Dominica began to serve me well because I began to understand certain things. I was able to draw on some of my experiences
Mhm.
and begin to maneuver myself in held couple positions with couple companies, did my stuff, did some things with my hand too, learned skills, unearthed skills I had inside of me that I didn't know.
Oh,
Um,
look at that.
yeah, and there are things I can do now that if I was in Dominica, I probably would have never known I could do those things because
Mhm.
the need didn't arise
Yeah.
to explore that. And then, yeah, so, and then I landed, um, you know, a reasonable job.
Mhm.
Stayed in that job for about 18 months. And then while I was there, I went on to do other things, did a couple of state exams, got qualified in certain fields.
I hear you. I hear you leveling up. I hear you not
Yeah,
just staying where you when you left Dominica, you come here, you were leveling up. I think a lot of people maybe make the mistake of just staying with
yeah,
where they were.
yeah.
Yeah.
So came in here, did, a couple of exams that required me to be able to operate at a certain level, got
Mhm.
certified and qualified
Mhm.
in certain things. And then I thought, I mean, I felt I was doing reasonably well in the position that I had with this company, a very, very, very large company in the US that
Mhm.
also operates across Africa and Europe.
Mhm.
Um, and then, my current job it's so interesting, and that is why I give God so much thanks and so much glory for, giving me a deep spirit of discernment and allowing me to be able to listen to the Spirit of God. So that when that opportunity came, I just one day sent an application, and then I got a response. And I was like, man, these people, I was just joking. I wasn't serious. So they said, listen, you have an assessment to complete. I was like, man, listen, I don't want to do that. Sent it once, I didn't do it. Sent it twice, I didn't do it. Sent it a third time, I was like, man, listen. I deliberately lost the email.
Yeah.
Deliberately lost the email. And I remember one particular time I went to church and I came home. I told my wife, let me just complete this thing, this because just for these people to leave me alone. And I did it, and just forgot about it. And then one Sunday we went. I told my family and I, we went to the zoo. We spent the entire
Mhm.
day at the zoo, and had fun. And we got home like about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the night. And then I saw my phone ringing, and I saw a particular you know um, title come up, like
Mhm.
the institution. It's like, yes, we're calling me up 8:30 in the night, Sunday night. And they were like, yeah, we offered you the job. Yeah, I'm like, what? I was like, like really?
Mhm.
And they're like, yeah. So on and so on. We were impressed, and you went through first, second, third interviews, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
I was like, well, you know what, Lord, if you open it, I'm going to walk through it. And I
That's it.
did.
That's it. Let me
So,
ask you this. Let
uh-huh.
me ask you this. What maybe has been one of your most challenging, because it's not easy transitioning right into
Mhm.
away from Dominica or if anywhere in the Caribbean and moving over here. Lots of changes. What maybe was your I like to look at life as areas where there are peaks and areas where there are pits, like bottomless pit and a mountaintop kind of moment. So, what was a mountaintop moment and what was a valley moment?
The valley moment for me was really just the transition itself, just the mere transition itself. I tell people all the time, I didn't leave Dominica at 19, 20. I didn't leave Dominica as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Mountain of Vietnam, I was an old halfback
Exactly.
man already in that, and
Like
and
you said,
and
30 something years already established working.
so yeah, so
Life.
it took a lot for me to adjust. Um, I mean, I had my house in Dominica. I had to move into a different setting, and then the whole the whole system, the whole work system is so different. I worked for the government all my life
Mm-hmm.
in Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm coming to work in the private sector,
Private sector.
and the
Yes, sir.
private
You
sector
gotta
in
you gotta
the
share one of
US.
the biggest differences. I really do want you to share
Yeah.
one of the biggest differences. But go ahead, keep going on your story.
Yes, and the
Yeah.
private sector in the US and private sector in Dominica is in itself is vast. It's a vast difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that coming from particularly working in the government system in Dominica, where we operate primarily on the most of our systems are sort of patterned on the British style.
Yes.
The adjustment, it took a lot to adjust to
Mhm.
time of, okay, and I'm answering the question.
Yes.
Pay periods, so your bill, you have to adjust your bills differently. Pay periods, the whole system of taxation, the amount of taxes.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more, so different.
Yes.
I think here it keeps you tapping. There's more room for complacency in our system. Yeah, we like to get
Yes.
paid every 31st, you get money, that kind of thing.
It's very
Um,
predictable,
yeah,
comfortable.
yeah.
Yes.
One of the things that really struck me and caught my attention is the process of accumulating vacation.
Mm.
I remember many years back in the public service in Dominica, I was on 5 months vacation, 5 months consecutively. I traveled. And then when I came back to work, I felt strange because I was on for 5 months.
And
I
then
don't
over here,
I don't see how here you can be on 5 months vacation if you're working in the system. Like
yeah,
accumulated 5 months vacation straight here.
yeah,
It's never gonna happen based
no.
on how the system is.
Hmm.
So that was one of my biggest surprises. And I had to immediately make the adjustment. Like
Hmm.
tell my mind, it's not so, bro. You know.
Hmm.
And so if you want to travel, you have to be able to know how many sick days you have, how
Right.
many vacation hours you have. You have to tabulate that and see where you fit that and all of those things. So all those things. And like I said, if I wasn't a teenager where the
Right.
transition was going to be smooth, it was my first rodeo with working, so I would just fit in. I came from a structured system, a system where I
Right.
was already, everything was ingrained in my system.
Totally ingrained.
Yeah, so that kind
Hmm.
of thing. But once I had my spirit was at a place where I understood it had the adjustment had to be made, then
Hmm.
I flipped over rather quickly. But
Hmm.
the thought of flipping over itself was a little scary. I was a little apprehensive, and I remember on a number of occasions saying, "Boy, I wonder if I shouldn't go back home."
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, I'm
Yes.
being very honest. I said that
Of
quite a few
course.
times, but I wonder if I
Hmm.
shouldn't go back home, because is
Hmm.
this thing really for me? Is this place really for me? Uh,
Yes.
but then I also remember telling myself, but is it that you're scared of challenging a new
Mm.
frontier? Do
Mm.
you want to run back to a comfort zone? I mean,
Hmm.
come on. And those kind of things drove me. And it's like, you know what, man, listen, push past the gray area. It's going to get better. And I can definitely say it's gotten better and it's getting better.
Yes.
And God has been truly, truly, truly faithful to me and my family. God has been good. There were initial struggles. There are still some struggles, but
Hmm.
nothing like what it looked like when I just started. And I'm seeing, you know, just things are happening. You know,
You mentioned your faith. Do you think your faith got stronger here?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you more than anybody would know how I grew up, the home that I grew up at.
Yeah.
You know, me monte tu is, you know, and so. But I also think, and I'll share that too. Sometimes we plan things and we want to do things our way, and a lot
Hmm.
of times when God wants our attention, He takes us out of the noise.
Absolutely.
He does one of two things. He takes the noise away from us, or he
Yes.
takes us out of the noise, and he says,
Yes.
now that I have extracted you from the jungle, and I say jungle meaning the crowd, the noise, the
Yeah.
congestion, I want your undivided attention. And I think I'm one of those.
Yes.
So very reluctant to leave, but it was in God's plan to extract me at that point of my life because he
Hmm.
realized that there were greater things for him to use me
To
to
do
and for.
outside
But
of
he
that.
couldn't because I was so distracted and I was caught up in
Yes.
things that I had taken up that he didn't intend for me.
Ay,
And
ay, ay.
so, yeah. And so once I came to that realization, I realized I had to make some changes. And one of, if not the major change, was my lifestyle, my trajectory, my thinking, my behavior, the processes that I employed
Hmm.
in the development of my whole life. I
Hmm.
realized I had to make some changes. And again, those were not easy because I had become so used to doing things my way.
Hmm.
But I had to understand that God was placing a call on my life and I need to respond. And once I
Hmm.
started responding, interestingly, things began to get easier. And the desire to return to my comfort zone
Hmm.
shrunk, you know, and shrunk.
I think there was more, there was more and there was better to look forward to than to look
Absolutely.
backwards at.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And as of now, as we speak, I'm excited about my future. I'm excited about what God has done thus far, what
Yeah.
He's doing, and I am just really, I am off mic. You and I were talking. I'm just enjoying my 50s so
Yes.
much, enjoying my
Yes.
life. I'm just, so much more at peace. I am beginning to understand how much more mature I am. You know,
Hmm. I
yes,
think this is a nice place to start talking about reviewing Dominica in the past 6 months after post election, because what you just mentioned makes me think about perspective, because you described being in the pot. And I talk about that a lot, where when I'm in it, I'm in this situation. 30 years is a long time to become
yeah,
coagulated, to become totally part of a system, and then through life's opportunities, through God's calling, interventions, all of that. Now I am out of the setting, and now I have a different perspective. I'm seeing certain things that maybe I couldn't see when I was inside, in the middle.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely correct.
so from that perspective, that vantage point, I want us to talk tonight. And I want to think about it like post election in Dominica. Let's look at the very good. What you've seen that you might say that's been very good. What you've seen that you might say is good. What you've seen and are seeing that you say that's bad. And then the ugly. So very good, good, bad, and ugly. I am not, I know politics it causes a lot, just talking about politics causes a lot of people pain because they get so enmeshed in the system. It becomes so very personal to many people that even just you talking about politics puts a lot of people on edge. And of course, we've seen it. It causes a lot of disruptions in relationships and all of that stuff. But I want my charge talk about God removing you from noise and sometimes removing noise from you and forcing you to sit down and do different things that you clearly know it's not me that want to do that.
Exactly.
If I had my choice, I would go back in my shell. I would not talk about
Mhm.
these things. But I know for sure I have a responsibility to talk about the political system, the way we're doing politics in Dominica. I know I have a responsibility to do that. And so I'm very happy you're here with me tonight for us to talk about that. I also want to say that one of my biggest pet peeves is the notion that I always have to be in line, or I never have to be in line with a particular organization. Because I don't believe always and never are a thing. If you tell me, if anybody comes up to me and they tell me that is always good, I can't trust that human being, because that human being is either being wicked or they just don't have, they're not a wise person to say, well, this is always good. Same token, for you to say this over there is always bad, I can't get with you on that, which is why I want us to go through the very good, good, bad, and the ugly. So, how about we start? How about we start small and get bigger? Like start at the community level, maybe. So, within the past, since the election, what have you seen that you might say is very good?
Well, I mean, one of the things I can say confidently that I believe this particular past election has done
Yeah.
for Dominicans, and I say that against the background that I have been in contact with a few very interesting people. If there was ever a time when Dominicans woke up and finally understood what politics and politicians had done and had been doing to them, it is this last election. And let me tell you, I've been speaking to people across the divide, incumbent party in government, opposition out of government, new independent candidate supporters, people who are just totally independent of any political organization or individual, people who sit at very high positions in the public service, people who are on the streets walking. I was in Dominica recently,
Hmm.
a couple of months ago, and I took the opportunity to interact with a very interesting people as well. And I can tell you, this election, past election, has brought a lot to light. Uh, it has, you get the vibe that people are now understanding that there are no long-term friends in this politics thing. And people are beginning to realize that they've placed too much of their lives in the hands of politicians. And I think that is one good thing I believe that has come out of that. And I say that boldly because I can tell you, if I was at liberty to mention the names or the positions of the people that I spoke to, you, my friend, would be amazed at these people finally expressing how much they took for granted as it relates to the level of trust they gave our current day politicians in Dominica. And I say this is a good thing because finally
Hmm.
people's consciousness is being awakened or has been awakened.
Has been
The, re-
awakened.
yeah, the reality of what they have surrendered over the
Ooh,
years for pittance,
what they sacrificed and gave up.
yes, has
Oh,
has slapped them in their faces, and they are recognizing that to the
when you
point
say that,
where
like when you say that, like what kinds of things would you say they think they have sacrificed?
their lives, in the sense where people had deliberately blinded themselves to truth
Yes.
because they felt that, like you rightly said, certain organizations or certain individuals could do no wrong. They were
Mhm.
always right, even when they knew in their heart that these
And
things
even
were
if,
wrong.
and even when they would see things that
Yeah,
didn't
but
line up.
what woke them up was when those wrongs now were actually perpetrated
Against
on
them.
them,
Oh,
against them, because they had they had now become. It's almost like their liberty to think for themselves had become the estate of another individual or group of individuals. That actions were being taken either covertly in some cases or overtly in other cases to
Mm-hmm.
malign them and to keep them in a state where they could be controlled. And I'm telling you this because these are direct words and expressions of people that I know very well, some of whom I've never had a conversation with, but who found me and wanted to express. And I'll tell you what generated that kind of conversation. People said, well, if you can speak out, Mervyn, then I feel I can talk to you because you probably know better than us.
Right.
And I said to some of them, it's not because I know better than you, it's just that I probably was a little more brazen,
Mm-hmm.
but some of the things you knew all along.
Yeah.
So I think the consciousness of, and I think that is one of the good things this is. So there was a lot of talk as to whether it should have been called, the election should have been called, whether people, it was fair and all that thing. We dealt with that at that point. But post the election, I believe one of the best things that could have happened is there's an awakening that is taking place. And trust me, there's a very, very covert awakening taking place. Yeah, a lot of people, and it's only a matter of time before it makes its way to the surface.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about the scripture that says, like, my word never returns unto
To
me
be
void.
void. Mm-hmm.
So seeds, once the fire starts, catching,
Yeah,
it must come, it must create something. It
yeah.
must create something.
So I believe that is probably for me the best thing that could come out. And I mean, you remember some of my utterances leading up to the election that people need to wake up, people need to see. People's trust have been taken for granted. People have been treated like pawns, and people are saying that now. They're finally seeing that. When people look at some of the actions, some of the utterances, the behavioral patterns
Yeah,
of their
yeah.
leaders post the election, they begin to realize, wait a while. So that's what I have settled for all those years. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the best things. And I believe it's going to manifest itself
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years down the line whenever another election is called, or via other opportunities. Let me just plug in here. One of the things that has also led me to that conclusion is the amount of our professionals who have packed up and left Dominica.
And
It
left.
is sad for the country because it
Yes.
creates a vacuum, a
Mm-hmm.
needed vacuum. But for me, it shows, it gives credence to the point that I'm making. And
Mm-hmm.
some of these people were in line. They had
Right.
fallen in line.
Yes.
And
But the
yeah,
awareness, with the awakening and the awareness, it's like the pain now is
yeah,
cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. They cannot, when you see, it's hard for you to just pretend you don't see.
yeah,
And when we know better, we do better.
mhm,
So I think that's what.
yeah. So yeah. So that was one of the best things. And for me, I'm somebody who's always more or most concerned about people. What happens to people? What the impact of actions on people? Because at the end of the day, you can build on the structures. You can have the best internet service. You can have all the major airlines going into the country. You can have all the bridges and all the roads and everything.
Infrastructure things.
If people are not in a better place as an
Body, mind,
individual,
and
they won't
spirit.
appreciate those things. They won't be able to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for me, that's why I say the best thing that could have happened since that election is, and I get that all the time because I talk to, even without me reaching out, there are quite a few people who've been reaching out to me and talking
Mm-hmm.
about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
Mm-hmm.
some of which I have to keep confidential because I
Of
cannot,
course.
but I'm telling you, generally, there is
Mm-hmm.
that sense that people are, yeah, like,
They're
yeah,
more willing to watch the reality, to
yeah,
see it, and to
and
see
question
what is
stuff as
what is.
against just opening their mouth and just swallowing hook, line, and
Take it
sinker.
in.
People are become questioning stuff now.
Mervyn, that I think that is what I felt the deepest pain about last year. Just the like just noticing and seeing people doing this kind of thing with the
Yeah,
like completely like there is no place, there is no
yeah,
space on the planet where doing that is good for anybody.
true.
There's no space. It's like where you just surrender who you are as a divine, separate human being and just give yourself over to anybody, much as for a system or a structure of governance. That is just a thing. It's just a thing that's passing. So
It
that,
was it was a realization of the gullibility of our people that allowed them to be taken advantage of like that. And I'm
yes,
happy people are realizing that they were too gullible. They had surrendered too much of their willpower and their decision making and their sense of um, their ability to analyze. They
their
had surrendered
autonomy,
too much of that, and now they're willing to take that back. Some people are
even
willing
their
to take it back.
wisdom, their common
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Some
Some
people
of
are
them
willing
are
to take it back openly. Some really are willing to take it back covertly.
hmm
Uh, but I am happy about the sense that people are waking up.
and it's unavoidable. The
Yeah,
thing is, it is unavoidable. They must wake up. They must
I
wake up.
remember
People
you.
all over
I
the
remember
world are
you.
waking up.
Yeah, I remember you sometime in one of your programs saying, when you hit rock bottom, you don't have a choice. You have to come. You have to
Yeah.
somehow you have to decide. Well, there's no more down I can go, so now I have to go back up. And
Yes.
going back up may require you to do it, in a manner. Some people go back up smoothly and quietly and subtly. Some people aggressively go back up. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
but it's happening. It's happening. There's an
Exactly.
awakening taking place. I know that.
It must. It must. It must.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's something you see that is very good. What would you
yeah.
put in the good category? What's good that's happening? That's been happening within the past 6 months. So with the elections, the elections were called under the premise of a reset. I'm
Mhm.
not exactly sure what the reset was to, but I heard the word reset. I mean, I'm not sure what we were resetting, but what are your thoughts on what might be
Well, I
good?
mean, I cannot say I see anything that is indicative of a reset per se. I don't see there's nothing that has wowed me since the last election. I see more of the same, and in some cases even less of what was happening prior. I
Mhm.
don't see anything that's like, wow, okay, that would reset seem to have taken root in this sector or this. I mean, if I am to try and find something, I can narrow it down to the constituency where I'm from. Um,
Okay, okay,
I can say that there's a sense of relief from the people. I spent some
okay.
time there.
hmm
People feel that they're now able to express their likes and their dislikes. They don't like something, they can say it. They don't have to feel up that if they talk, they're going to be victimized. I think
mm
that there's a warmness now in the area, with the young pal rep who, from all reports, have been, nicely connecting with the people at their level. And I mean, it's early in the piece, but
hmm
that's what I can speak to because
hmm
he's not more than 6 7 months in the business. So
Right.
yeah. So if anything, from that standpoint, I
hmm
mean, just driving in the communities, spending some time in the communities, if people are openly talking, people feel that, and not necessarily because they want anything, just the fact that there's not the fear of, if I say I do not like something, I wouldn't get something. People just
mm
feel free that they can express themselves and so on.
mm
And also, I've seen the initiatives to address some of the basic concerns of people, some of the basic
Like,
human
can you
needs.
give me an example? I saw a couple things. I actually posted something on my page from
Yeah.
our community parlor rep with where there's a in the boxing plant or in the not a boxing plant but the community center.
Yeah, that is
There's
an excellent,
a
excellent.
training opportunity for young
There,
people
I mean, if
for
you, my friend,
Microsoft Word, Office.
If you go to
Yeah, that's
Cottage now,
really helpful.
and Capuchin, I think too has one. If you
Oh,
go, yeah, I mean,
okay.
there's a center with computers, internet. That is
Hmm.
something I, if you told me in the previous dispensation that that was a possibility, so much more to become a reality, I'd laugh at you
Why?
because I just didn't see anybody. I didn't see the previous pilot or not, and not even the parliament per se, but I didn't sense the government had an interest in the. It's like you didn't get the sense that Cottage or Capuchin or Clifton worth setting up a computer center where young people could go in and have access to
Oh,
it. No, no.
what?
I'm telling you. I mean, it's almost like you felt there do bon Dieu in that
What?
kind of different. Yeah. So when I saw that, I mean, I had to, it's almost like when they remember the Sunday say, "Ano hele hooray, shime with a over." It's almost like "Ano hele hooray, computer center with a cottage, with a
What?
cottage," you know. Yeah, I mean, for a long time after the hurricane, that part of the country didn't even have internet service. Didn't have. So just to see that initiative in itself, I believe is something exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about something good,
Mm-hmm.
I think that can be rated as very good.
Mm-hmm.
And I specifically made a call to somebody and spoke to them about it. I was like, really? I was like, and the pilot is my good friend. So I
Mm-hmm.
congratulated him on that initiative. So that I think is great. Um, and cottage in particular, for example, has had a dwindling population. So
Yes.
it's almost like you got the feeling that people felt, the decision makers felt, well, one, two old people left in the place, but there are young people. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
initiative to improve the playing field
Mm-hmm.
and to keep it cut and bring back sports.
Mm-hmm.
It's just excellent.
I
Rounders.
saw I saw that, which it seemed like a joint initiative between villagers or community members for in the diaspora and
Yeah,
the community, and that felt
yeah,
very hopeful. That felt
yeah.
very positive for me.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
so I mean, like I said, I could speak to a couple of initiatives that the new pilot has taken,
Hmm.
and I think people are excited about it. There's a sense of worth, a sense of belonging. Finally, people feel that they're worth something. Somebody's looking out for them,
Hmm.
and if you know our people well, they don't ask for much. They don't
Hmm.
demand much. They just decency and but that feels good. That feels good, and I believe deservingly so, because I mean, for a constituency that has been loyal for so many years, those are basic things. There are other little initiatives that I've been hearing about, approach to small business initiatives. I'm excited about that, empowering people, uh,
Hmm.
you know approaches to looking out for the less fortunate.
Hmm.
I've heard about increased employment in certain areas where there are more people now employed in certain areas. Um, they can earn something. While the level of earnings probably needs to be revisited, but at
Hmm.
least there are more people on the pay sheet now, which is
Level
good.
of earnings. We
Yeah,
need to come back to that.
yeah,
I I
absolutely.
I copied a few posts, right, of people's pain. Really, it's their
Mhm.
pain. Um, Facebook is an opportunity for people to release their pain, and yes, somebody wrote something about the wages and the basic wages. I guess we'll talk about that in one of the maybe the not so good, the bad and the ugly, because yeah, that person was in a lot of pain. So I've mentioned good and very good. You haven't mentioned the airport.
Well, I mean, the airport is it's a good idea. I'm seeing some things happening on the ground.
Hmm.
Um, And I believe if Dominica can get an international airport, I mean, there can't be anything bad about that.
Right.
I had a conversation with somebody recently. Um, you know, I had a conversation with somebody recently, and I believe there are still concerns about the process employed in raising the funds to fund the airport. I still think and feel that there has not been enough openness,
The
transparency
transparency is
in the
question is
process.
yeah,
Yeah.
concerning.
I
Yeah.
mean, from what
It's such
I
a big project,
Mhm.
a life-changing, a transformational project that the whole country has been waiting for forever in our
Yeah,
existence.
yeah,
I do worry on that about the people in the
yeah.
community too. Are they seem anyway from the lives that they're sharing, they seem to feel separate from they don't seem to be feeling like a part of when many
Which
people
community?
like Wesley area. A lot of
I
people
mean,
like are still complaining that they didn't. I don't know if everybody's gotten their monies for their properties that they've surrendered for the project.
well, I
That makes me
mean,
feel very
any major project, and that is why I do not want to. I don't want to sound like I am just want
against
to be
the project.
critical, and
Exactly.
any
Exactly.
major capital project is going to have and create some level of discomfort. I mean, it's
Right.
happening right around where I live. Recently, there was
Absolutely.
talk about some housing settlement, and people had some people they had to acquire some people's property and all of that and so on. So there's going
Hmm.
to be that kind of thing. And the thing
Hmm.
is, in a place like Dominica, where the place the country is so polarized, um, so certain things are going to be seen purely through political lens. So
Mm.
if some of the
That's
people
so
who are going to
sad.
be affected have traditionally been opposed to the current government,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily expect them to just sit
True.
back and say, "Well, it's a good thing, it's okay, I will move," and
True. True.
blah blah blah,
True.
and that
True.
kind of thing.
True.
As
Right.
against those who because they support, they don't care. You'll
Right. The
find out
always and never
right,
crowd. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So I can understand that there'll be talk. Some people may be genuinely affected and have not gotten paid. As a matter of fact, when I saw some recording where the prime minister taught, and somebody asked him a question about compensation, and he said there was some legal issues that they had to deal with, but and then they will ensure that people get their payment. So he did agree that there were some people who were,
Always.
displaced and had not gotten compensated. So those are
Hmm.
genuine cases.
Hmm.
But if the international airport is a project that is going to, really help Dominica and improve our ability to attract investment and major travel opportunities and so on, not just for us as Dominicans, but we know how much the dive industry is worth, and people want to come in and dive, and they can come directly and all those kind of things. Of
Hmm.
course, by all means, like I said, my concern is I I don't think at any time thus far there's been an open discussion, transparent discussion on
Hmm.
how the monies are being raised. All that I've known, I've heard, and I'm subjecting myself to correction. Maybe I have not taken the time to research it well enough, but
Hmm.
I all I've heard is one man has been mandated to raise the money, and to raise the money by, like we like to say, selling passport, which is the economic citizenship program. That
Hmm.
is all. I mean, how much money is he expected to raise? How many economic citizenship passports economic
Going to
citizenship is he
sell.
expected to sell or to
Meaning, how many new Dominicans
right? So
are we sacrificing in a way?
is it that once he raises $1 billion for the airport, his job is done?
Hmm.
And what about the extra that he may have raised?
Mm.
In the process, where does
Hmm.
that go? Does it go into the
Where is
consolidated
that public
fund?
information?
How much
Is
is he
that
being paid?
right?
What is he being paid for raising that money?
Right.
And is he being paid from so say for example, if he have to raise $10,000 on one economic citizen, um, is he going to raise 25,000. So if he's going to raise 25,000, he has to pay 10,000 to the country to go
Yes,
towards the
yes.
airport. Is he getting paid the other
How much does he get?
$15,000?
Right. How much
And
does he
so, I
get?
mean, or how much is he being paid? And I mean, that kind of thing, like more details. And I think that Dominicans need to hear that, because at the end of the day, it's almost, it's you can say it's like taking portions of their sovereignty, using portions of our sovereignty to raise the money. And so they have a
Mhm,
right to demand an
mhm,
explanation and detailed explanation as to
mhm,
um, who this guy who's mandated to raise the money, what
mhm,
are the terms and conditions
mhm.
under the prison. And I think that is covered in a cloak of secrecy that troubles me. It
But of
troubles me.
course, that's troubling. I mean, this is a public project, isn't it? It's not a
Absolutely.
private company. I mean, it's not a private sector project where, say, Wallace Enterprises is building the airport.
Right.
This is the government and people of the
Mhm.
country. And the way it's being done is, yeah, okay, so over here it might be they raise the money through taxes, but this is quite a tax that we're paying by selling sovereignty,
Mhm.
inviting
I mean,
people we've never met,
yeah.
thousands of people who have constitutional rights like we do.
Because I remember when the airport, the new international airport was being built in St. Vincent, I think it's called Argyle or something like that.
Mm,
I remember the Prime Minister having a special discussion, radio and television discussion, detailing. And I remember when he, at some point, he said that I think they were going to get some money from Iran. It raised some eyebrows. And he was obligated to come to the public and explain the terms
of
and
course,
conditions in which they were getting that money from that organization.
as he should,
Yeah.
as he
But in
should.
Dominica, all that has been thrown out is this gentleman is mandated to raise the money, and there's
Yeah,
a
that's
Chinese
not.
company who's building it, and that's it. The terms and condition which governs how he's raising the money. Well, we know how, but how much he's getting paid? How is he getting paid? Is he getting paid percentage wise? Is he getting a lump sum amount based on how much you rate? I mean, I am no financial guru, so I can't
Mm,
necessarily discuss the terms, but all I know is there's been no thorough discussion and explanation on the terms and conditions that this had. They design a contract. What are the terms and conditions of the contract? They design a contract with the what is it? What are the terms and conditions that the contract may have signed with the Chinese company? I mean,
mm.
so there's stuff going on, but people still not sure. I don't think people know how how
The
precisely.
trouble with not having information is people begin to speculate. They feel
Yeah,
very anxious. It is not good for anybody for there to be that level of
yeah,
secrecy. It's not good. It's not good for the government to have that level of secrecy. It's too much.
yeah.
And I think for such a big project, where I think more Dominicans than not are excited about and have been longing for so long, I really wish they do different, like they make an adjustment in that
Mhm.
area. And at a certain point, you have to take a risk, and you're working with us and you're working for us.
But why you call it a risk?
Because I think it's a risk for the politicians because I don't know what
But it
they
shouldn't. But it shouldn't even be
know.
a risk if you have nothing to hide. It shouldn't be a
I
risk.
agree.
It should. It should. You should feel it as part of your duty. It's your duty bound to provide transparency and openness as it relates to the affairs of the people.
But
Um,
clearly, there's some barriers there. Clearly, there's some barriers there because
and
the
and then and
floodgates
then
are tight shut.
then the reason must be examined as to why. Why are there barriers? I mean, what do you risk losing if you are open and honest about your transactions as it relates to the governance of the country? Um,
On
that is
such a
why.
big, powerful, big project. I don't get it. I'm very confused. I feel very confused by that.
So to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I am happy. to be able, God grant me life if it is completed, to fly home directly, of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, am I prepared to say, well, you sacrifice a need or for honesty and openness? No, let's be
No,
open about
no,
it.
no.
Especially when the process of raising funds is is or involves an area of financing that has been so controversial over the years, over many
Yeah,
years.
it's caused a lot of pain. It's caused
Yeah,
a lot of pain.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
As we're talking about that, I guess I wonder if that could be in the bad and the ugly category. I was reading something that Dominica is continuing to place high on the list of reputable, I suppose, on the list of CBI programs. Dominica, St. Kitts, Antigua placed like what in the 40s. I think Dominica might have been 50, and that was in an article by Yahoo Finance like yesterday. But by the same token, there's word that the U.S. recently essentially put a hold, or there's some sort of barrier that no Russian citizens, because of the Russia-Ukraine war, at least
mhm.
that's the pretext, cannot participate in the CBI program, right? So other countries with reach are finding ways to put a little bit of a band-aid, put a little bit of a tampering on the way we manage the CBI program. So I look at that as a threat.
But Dominica's CBI program has always been under the scrutiny of the US. Always. Um, Not because necessarily economic citizenship programs are bad.
Mm-hmm.
The United States has economic citizenship program itself, uh, and so many other countries. But I believe some of the type of people who have been
Access.
attracted to the Dominica CBI program has obviously raised the eyebrows of the US and some European countries.
Mm-hmm.
Rightfully so, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have had a few scandalous situations with the Dominica program. We
Big
cannot get away
time.
from that. We have
Big
had a few
time.
people who have received economic citizenship who are currently incarcerated.
Mm-hmm. Big
Um,
time.
and some of the ways that they've received their economic citizenship has come into question.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, we're a small country. One may argue it happens in the more metropolitan countries and nobody looks at it, but that is the reality of the world. Um, you know, you don't have the wherewithal to stand on your own, and you still want to be flaunting, you know,
Oh,
your bad habits in the eyes of those
oh,
who can
that was
sneeze and
well
give you a
said.
cold.
Okay. I've never thought of it that way. So there you are, you're the little weakling, you're the little punk on the playground, right? Force wise. You don't have much, right? Your family don't have much money. You come into school with your shoe calbo say,
Mm,
but you want to be really you want to be a major on the playground with a lot
yeah,
of bigger boys, you know?
yeah, yeah. And it's not even just playing major; it's playing major in the way you're doing it. Because I mean, if you know that you
You're
have
being
to,
watched.
yeah, and you have to be more diligent in the way you do things. And you clearly, one may say the first time you did it you made a mistake, but two, three,
Mhm.
4 times you attracted movie character, bad characters to your program. What do you
Mhm.
expect your neighbors to do? They're gonna look at you funny. They're gonna begin to say, "Well, wait a while. Okay, you made a mistake once, but you know what's going on." So,
Right.
so it's not like Dominica has escaped the scrutiny of the United States and other European countries as it relates to the economic citizenship program. Like I said, the economic
Mhm.
citizenship program in itself is not a bad thing, but
Right.
it is when you appear to be um, professing one thing, that you have transparency, it is one of the best in the world. But
Mhm.
from time to time, you still find okay, someone they get economic citizenship program, they pass all the tests, and after they've gotten their citizenship, they find themselves doing they use that to start. That is acceptable. But when it's a
Mhm.
situation where these people apparently had bad records,
Already.
or or the processes enshrined in your economic citizenship program were undermined to
Mhm.
accommodate certain people, and that can be
Mm.
proven, then obviously that you open yourself to even more scrutiny and possible sanctions, or like you say, people beginning to close the pipe on you a little bit. They're giving you
Yeah.
less water now.
Yeah. And that's the way these bigger boys on the playground do it. They
Yeah,
don't necessarily come out, they don't have anything to say to you. They just make it
yeah,
hard for
yeah,
you and you start
yeah.
feeling the burn, and it's a slow, painful
Hmm.
withering away, you know.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, well, what's I guess we seem to be going down to the pit of hell. We started off high. Well, no, what is
Yeah.
bad and ugly? Wait, before we go there, before we go to the bad and ugly. Um, what about that university? Is that university? I've been hearing that there's some movement on the campus. People were painting. What is? Have you heard anything about?
Well, when I went down to Dominica a couple of months ago, I went to see for myself. Actually, I
And
was pretty much in the area. I saw the same thing that I've been hearing about: painting, refurbishing, and so on and so on and so on. I honestly do not know. I cannot speak with any degree of certainty as to where that is. All I've been hearing is talk, talk, talk. I don't see anything that makes me hopeful that in the next 3 months or 6 months we'll see something. I'm not saying it's not happening. I don't see. Yes, there's been some sprucing up, painting, and so on. But until people heads are in beds, people are in
that's me.
classrooms,
That's
and
where I
the
am. I
little
am so
gazebos are
done
back.
with the
The little,
shenanigans.
the little gazebos are
I'm so done
baptizing
with the painting and the scraping and the. I can't.
I just feel like that's playing with people. You keep telling
I'm
possible
not
people
doing
be
this.
hopeful, be hopeful. I mean, it's sad. It's so sad to see all the millions and millions of dollars worth of buildings around the place just rotting down. I mean, everything is just in a mess on that side of Dominica. I mean, because so many people were dependent on us, and that university left, and for so many years, it's just like, yeah, something is coming. This one is coming, the name change. This one is coming, the name change. Now it's a different thing, you know.
Yeah.
So
I have no more emotions or faith to ration. I'm just not doing that.
I
Like you
feel
say, heads
honestly,
in bed.
yeah, you want to know what I feel? Sometimes,
Good.
honestly, I feel every time people start expressing like that not looking like there's anything, there's a press conference
Sorry.
to say, yes, look, well, we just had 6 people here
Sorry.
and they're doing this and that, and then raise people's hope again. And then when it start dying again, well, let's drop another log in the
Right.
water again. Let's create some more ripples to just
Yeah.
reignite the expectation and so on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Little flurry of
at some point,
activity.
at some point you have to stop treating people like they're fools. Huh?
I mean, that just doesn't, for me, I've learned to wait for evidence. So
Yeah,
even the airport, I saw many dump trucks and this and that. I see activity happening, but I'm not going to, I need to wait to see. You need to wait till the end before you can believe again based on prior history. You know, that's the best
yeah.
I can offer. That's the best I can
It's not the
offer
first
people.
time. It's not the first time we've seen Earth movement and different things in Dominica. I mean, and
It's so
successive parties have done it. So I don't want to say this one is doing the same thing, but until you see something that look like, okay, this thing is well on its way, that's fine. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll be very honest with you. I want to
I
give the
do.
government the benefit of the doubt. I believe it's I believe the intention is good and so on. Like I say, my only concern is I still feel that there has not been enough information
Transparency.
provided to the public on how the money is being, the terms and conditions under which that gentleman is being allowed to raise one man to raise
And a
1 billion.
non, and I just, I don't know how, like, who in their regular life allows a stranger to come in and take care of their most precious. I don't know in
Well,
real life, except, well,
I
I'm
mean,
paying somebody who you know is very good, like a doctor. I pay a real professional that I know for sure is very good at this, and I have credentials to back it up. Yeah, I might let you come in and take care of my sick child who's suffering from, who's got stage 4 cancer. But just, I don't know. I don't know.
well,
Maybe this
I,
is very
I,
good.
I mean, honestly, I don't want to blow too much on that because it happens in a lot of countries where you have people who have particular skills and who are good at certain things, and they're employed by governments to do things. And I don't know if we have any, and again, I'm not saying we don't. I don't know if we have anybody at home or a Dominican living in the diaspora who could do that. We probably will have, but I don't know. So I don't have anything, I don't have an issue with whether the person is a Dominican or not. I'm just, because if it was a Dominican who was given that responsibility and the information as is was still not forthcoming, I would still raise the same questions.
I
The,
get you. I'm with you
the,
there.
the point for me is, why hasn't there been more openness and transparency as it relates to the terms and condition that this man was
He's
given
hired.
that particular major responsibility?
And why should
Already
we trust? Why
he
should we trust without information?
right he and the whole housing thing in Dominica is already a controversial subject. To hand him, like you rightly said, the biggest infrastructural project in Dominica's history, to raise $1 billion, and all we know is he's charged with the responsibility. We don't know, is he supposed to do it over 2 years, over 3 years, over 4 years? If he's front loading, is he front loading the 1 billion, or is he front loading 400 million? And at what point
And
does
getting
he
reimbursed.
say, my job in raising funds for the airport is done? How much is he getting paid? How much is he getting paid? All
But I
those
guess,
kind of things,
Mike,
it's important.
isn't this stuff supposed to be public information? Like, shouldn't a
But
citizen be able to go to the archives, whatever department, or the whatever department of the whatever, and access that information?
do we have a Freedom of Information Act in Dominica?
I don't know. You worked in the GI in the government service for a lot of
We
time.
don't
We
have
don't.
freedom of information. No. It's been a talk. We don't have Freedom of Information Act.
So meaning the citizens do not, they can't.
And you can go in the registry and go and see if I have a piece of land registered in my name. You pay $10 to do a search. But as it relates to you forcing or going to a particular ministry and saying, I want information on that, you can't get that. There's nothing that legislates that. In other countries, there's a Freedom of Information Act where you can go and ask. I'm not even talking about the great United States, I'm talking about Caribbean countries, where you can go and, because of what is legislated, you can go and get information. And they must give it to you, and somebody fails to give it to you, you can challenge it. Not in Dominica. If you go
How
to a
come we
company
don't have
secretary
that?
now, if you go to and ask for information, they tell you that's private, that's it. You can't get that, that's it. Like the information we're talking about, you can go to the director of audit or the, how you call it, the inland revenue, or the other one,
Auditing?
treasury. You
Okay.
can't go and ask for this information. They'll tell you that's private. When that is supposed to be public information. The thing is, the problem I have is, as well, is you have one of the responsibilities of the leader of the opposition in the House is that position is supposed to be chairing the Public Accounts Committee, and that Public Accounts Committee has access, or should be able to access, information from the Director of Audit and all of those. But that office
Is that
itself,
happening?
no. And that is where these politicians continue to fail people. Yet still they go, all of them, they go all over the place and tell people this, the government this, and the government that. But you have a big responsibility to, You can
Absolutely.
summon a meeting of the director of audit and all the other major heads there and demand information. That is legislative. That is where Parliament gives you that authority. And then you can take that. And if you find discrepancies, you can discuss it and so on. But there's not even a form. When last you heard the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, whether it was Linton when he was, whether it was whoever, or the current one, I don't even know who's leader of the opposition now, say that they had a meeting with and they picked up the annual report of the director of audit. They summoned a meeting, they wanted to raise this. These people, so you have these people themselves charged with the responsibility of being able to be placed in positions to provide information, and they fail.
That sounds like bad and ugly, Pal. so okay, talk a little bit more on this, on your thoughts on the opposition. Like, do we have an opposition? What is the state of the opposition in
You're
Dominica?
talking about a political opposition,
Well, you
political.
always say there's a distinction. So talk about
So
it.
we have opposition. We have people who are opposed to what the government is doing
Mhm.
for many different reasons. Some people just, it's not their party, and so whether the government does well or not, they just don't care.
Yeah.
Then you have those who are fairly objective, who listen, they're doing some things which are good, but we still have concerns and so on. But as it relates to a parliamentary opposition, well, we have people who are sitting on the opposition benches. I
Mhm.
was able to follow some of the last sitting of parliament, and I can tell you, I wasn't impressed with what was coming from the opposition benches. Now, I'm not bashing them because first of
Right.
all of them are new. All
Mhm.
of them are new. Some of them were thrust into this thing because as an accommodation because of the official
Yeah.
opposition then not being involved. So they were
Mhm.
thrust into that, and so they have to be pretty much in the middle of the ocean learning to swim. And you have train sharks on the other side who will eat them
I
for lunch
know.
and dinner.
I
You
know.
understand?
Yeah.
Um, so I feel sorry for them because they're gonna have to learn and learn fast. Even somebody like Sean Douglas, who I thought would have probably brought a little bit of better understanding of the parliament and the government stuff, was a disappointment because I think he made some points some time back in the house, which I thought the government side chewed that up like it was hot bread. They just throw into him, and I thought, okay, Sean comes from that family, and Sean himself is fairly bright,
Mhm.
and I was disappointed. No, I mean, I'm hoping that the others can learn and so on. But as we speak, I think the ship is sailing with one side. It don't have nobody to balance it off. I don't see that. Okay, let's put it that way. I see no hope in the people sitting in opposition as of now. I don't get the sense that they can really carry the views of people who have a different view
Yeah.
effectively in parliament.
Yeah.
I don't,
So
and I
so
mean
what so then
it's
what's going to happen? Are you putting like electoral reform in that bad and ugly category? I mean, what's going to happen?
well, that was one of the things I want to put in that category because again, one seem to think that the issue of electoral reform has taken a backseat again. It's just
Again,
gone.
I thought I'm look. Again, last year I was very irritated because I just cannot get over these promises on video, and we're doing different things. I can't get past that from a long time ago. So right now I'm just like, when what's the word? You're just resigned to the fact that there are going to be these promises that people lie about, and that's what they are. They are lies. Because I heard that by April we will,
Yeah.
and so this is June. So
And we're
it
not
for
even
me
hearing about the report that was supposed to come from Sir Dennis Byron. Where is the report? Has the report come in? If it has not come in, what is the delay? And if it has come in, what is the delay? When is it going to Parliament? Nothing. You're not even hearing about okay, this is the report. We're going to organize town hall discussions to discuss it with people. Nothing. I mean, is it that it came in and the cabinet is taking so long to study it still? I mean, what is going on? So um again, this thing has just and fallen right back down. And then because of the lack of I don't know how to put it, but because we don't have an opposition that political opposition that's worth their salt, so to speak. They're not even taking up the issues. I think recently there was some talk about they were going to have some demonstration in Roseau or something, or if it happened, I don't know. But that is the usual. That's the norm. A few people come and dress for a couple of speakers. We want electoral reform.
They
They
don't care
worry
about
that
that.
few people. I think
You
they
know,
said they had some rally somewhere on the Bayfront or whatever. If you put if you put 1,500 people on the Bayfront, it looks like it's 10,000 people because the place is,
yeah,
so it looks
yeah,
like a lot of people, but
yeah,
that doesn't move the needle.
right,
So I mean, when you have nobody in parliament to stand up and take this thing and speak, on it in a way that creates impact or that
right.
raises people's consciousness,
Yeah.
others will slide by. Like
You
you
know,
said,
though,
there was a promise of that thing coming to the fore in April and being settled, and then,
so that's another that's broken word. Like, how can I that's
yeah,
just very hard for me to respect.
yeah.
I just can't, in my real life, in
I
your
don't
real
hear
life,
about Dennis Byron anymore. I don't hear about his report. I hear nothing.
it's just very confusing to me because I think I feel a lot of disappointment too towards the people who support the organization because you have to keep your people accountable too. Really, it's you. You've got to keep your people accountable. So why are you? It's okay that your people are just lying.
Well,
I don't get that.
at the top of the discussion, I told you one of the good things, or the very good thing that I've learned is that people are asking questions, and some of these people are asking questions about that very issue. And but again, because of the state Dominica is in now, as it relates to the level of fear that exists among people, some people are just okay. So let me give you a practical, it's like some statements I've heard. Some people are saying, um, "Yeah, I support them, but we'll make them feel it next time." And you're hearing that. I mean, people are making reference to Antigua and Antigua's election. People are saying
Mm,
yes. See how Gaston almost lose because a lot of people
it's
didn't
close.
did
Yeah.
not go to the polls. So
Yes.
that is happening. So there are some people who will follow and they will fall over the precipice. It doesn't matter what. But I
Right.
think, like I said, the consciousness of some people is awakened, and
I'm
they
really
are,
these are the people I'm speaking to because I'm hoping that we still have consciences
yeah,
that are active and that have been formed in our religious and spiritual organizations from childhood on up, where we know if a person makes me a promise and they don't keep that promise, that is not correct.
yeah,
If that person breaks their promise to me once, okay, maybe I can cut them some slack.
yeah,
But again, what do I do now? And I as the individual, I must make a reasoning about this person and I
hmm,
must take right action. That
hmm,
does because I think the people who are supporters of the organization, if they're being honest, again, if their consciences are working, if they're being honest, I think they also know that other people, the people who don't support, do not have a voice.
right,
They do not have a
yeah,
voice. So we need to stop pretending like the people on the opposition side have a voice. Those people
hmm,
who do support the organization and act like real human beings as opposed to, you know,
yeah,
I'm always or and I'm never. That
hmm,
seems very sad to me to watch.
you're right.
Yeah. And I don't see how that's in Dominica's best interest when we do that. Because we have to
You
keep
know
people
you
accountable.
yeah, you correct. You see, the thing is, if you notice what I said at the top of the program, it's almost like the political culture in Dominica has been rewritten, and so it's almost like people speak about decades, and when
Hmm.
something happens over a decade, it's almost become a norm,
Right.
and so it's scary now for some people to even talk about breaking away and doing things differently because and there was an aggressive there was an aggression in culturalizing people
Right.
politically that it
Right.
has become ingrained in some people
Yeah.
and so the redoing of their consciousness now seem difficult. But like I said, I'm happy that I mean I was frightened, my friend, at some of the people who told me what they told me when I went to. I was shocked. I'm like, you I mean, yeah. And these are people who are still very much in the belly of the whale,
Yes.
but there is that burning desire now to cut out what they know and they realize has strangled them for so long.
And that part is the part that I have faith in because that's a global energy. So no matter how dead or bon Dieu you are, some of that global rising consciousness energy must pick Dominica up with it.
Yeah,
It must. And you see many people trying to fight very hard to keep the old structures in place. They won't stand. They
yeah.
cannot stand.
Things
They
have to
can't
evolve.
stand. Yeah, they won't stand because they cannot stand, but it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time.
And that is where I believe we're we're hurting as a people as it
Oh,
relates
yes.
to the lack of a vibrant opposition force in parliament.
Hmm.
I believe,
Coagulated. So you talk about that. There is an opposition force that is so. If it was coagulated, if it was one force, the
yeah,
power that's there would shift things, but it's
yeah.
dispersed.
But we should not lose sight of the fact that there's been a concerted and conscious effort to ensure that what is happening in the opposition in parliament now happens.
Is happening.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there's been a concerted effort
Yeah.
to destroy
Right.
effective opposition,
Right.
and to a very large extent has been done, has been
Yeah.
successful. I mean, not to disparage the people and the caliber of the people who sit on the opposition in parliament, no,
Mhm.
but to say that they like fish out of water.
It's
They
a
like fish
learning
out of
curve.
water. I
It's
mean,
it's a
clearly.
huge learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time they get their feet wet, it's time for another election. What
Exactly.
contribution have
It's a
they
huge
made?
learning
How much
curve.
have they brought people along with them?
Right.
You know. So
Right.
yeah,
You are correct because UWP is not the opposition
yeah.
party right now. Where do you see UWP? What's
Well, I can't speak for them because I mean I don't know much if any about them. I
right.
I would say I would just say this though. I mean, there was a lot of clamor when Linton resigned. Some people felt he did it at a wrong time, and once he had resigned, Scary took advantage of a headless organization and so on. Then there
Mm,
was the emergence of Thompson Fontaine, who some people felt would have brought some vibe and vigor to the United Workers' Party. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I mean, um, and that is not to say that Thompson is not bright and
mhm.
has a lot of potential, but having potential and not having and not putting it to work doesn't make sense. I mean, you can have $1 million and you have it, and you just have it, then you never invest it. You
Mhm.
only going to have $1 million. That's what it's
Mhm.
going to be, you know. When
Mhm.
possibly you could invest it or invest, couple 100,000 from it and make a couple of million. The point is, um, And then you still have the Lennox Linton who are out there talking, trying to encourage people to go to the streets. Bro, that going to street thing not working in Dominica.
I
Let's
know.
Sabah
That's an old dispensation, in my
because the
view.
same set of people, the same set of elderly people, and a
I
few
agree.
other people who go to the streets all the time. There's nothing happening in that. So, according to Jerry Lloyd of a song, try another strategy, brother.
Look,
You know,
even up here, I think the walking and the marching stuff up here, for me, it's an old dispensation. I think people
but
are
you,
unmoved. Many people are unmoved. The consciences are different. People's hearts are different. They're not as responsive. It's got to be so massive. It's got to be so big that it'll
so I was
create.
about to say that if you were, there's nothing wrong. People, you never stop people from walking. People taking to the street.
I
It's
agree.
historical and it has had. But if you are not going to be able to move enough people to the street, that sends a message. It doesn't make sense. I mean, like I
They can
say, you
stay
put
home.
2,000 people and you put them on the bayfront and say we had a massive turnout. At least, at least you have 36,000 people going to vote every election. Bro,
I do think
if you can't get half of that to come to the street, 1,000 people are not going to move the needle.
I do think the energy, for me personally, the energy of the Wednesday walkers is different. I do think there's something there that, for me, feels. I get a positive. I have a positive response to the Wednesday walkers,
They still walk
and
on a Wednesday.
they still do.
I haven't
They
seen.
still do. And for me, there's something about that group's tenacity and their commitment to their intention that.
But if you don't mind me jumping in
Uh,
here, look at walks in the US and other countries. I mean, we look at people, look at walk. There's always an identifiable leader who's been able to bring
Move.
people along and ensure that when this person say we're walking.
Hmm. Hmm.
Who's leading that Wednesday walk? I mean,
Oh,
and what who's doing the analysis at the end of the walk to say, I mean, these things cannot just be let's walk and then sun hot, we go and sit up on the porch, we drink water, we go back home.
hmm.
I mean, after a while, going to become so monotonous that some of the very same workers going to get tired with that because they're
Hmm.
going to get physically tired and then they're not achieving anything. No one may
Because
argue. One,
with that one, I feel a different vibe. I really do feel a different vibe. It
okay.
feels to me like, when people would sit at the lunch thingies, it feels more
Mhm.
like that than the marching situation. So it feels like just because they keep showing up, like they're committed. Almost as I think life sometimes, preparation sometimes meets opportunity. So I think on that level, if they're committed
I
to
would let me tell you, I believe based on my own experience and some of the work that I did, I believe there needs to be a more concerted effort to engage people one on one, house to house, family to family,
the hard
engage
work,
people in the backyard,
the
engage
hard
people
work,
by the seaside, engage people and start to speak into people's consciousness.
the hard
Because
work.
you may not see 10,000 people to the street.
Mhm,
However, you may get 10,000 people to either not vote or vote again
mhm.
by
Seed
engaging.
planting.
Because not everybody want to be seen on the street,
Mhm,
but they have issues that they would like to be, they would like to talk about, they would like to be
mhm,
engaged about. You understand what I'm saying?
mhm. I do.
Um, so I'm not against people walking. I mean, that's their right, and I believe it probably eventually will have some kind of impact. Who knows? But I think
Mhm,
it shouldn't be a standalone event or activity. There needs to be other events that lend itself to that.
that
So
ties in.
maybe you might see the numbers increase on the streets if you employ other strategies that
Mhm,
have the same objective. But
mhm,
going back to the question about the UWP, like I said, I can't speak to them and what they're doing. But I
right.
mean, honestly, my partner Thompson has disappointed me in the sense that.
Also,
But I mean, what is he addressing? What, like recently, I saw he had a Facebook post on the upcoming budget, and he was speaking
When
to
is
some.
that? When is the budget thingy?
Well, budget is normally June, so it
Mm-hmm.
should be sometime this month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, he's an economist, and I saw he went on Facebook and was talking about some measures that he think that needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I can't set the brother's agenda for him. I mean, he knows. I think he knows best, and he probably has his advisors and so on. But I would think that you would prepare what you think would be a solid proposal for the economic growth and development of the country,
Mm-hmm.
and have that. You may want to have a nice little booklet or something and make a presentation as to, hey, we enter another budget cycle. This is how I would, as my party, and I would approach dealing with agriculture, health, education, tackling the productive sector, and tourism and so on. But
Mm-hmm.
to sit down for 17 minutes or 23 minutes and just say, well, this is bad and this is what we do and this is what we do and we'll do this and do that. To me, it comes across as unstructured and just you are a shadow prime minister. You are the next to presenting yourself as the next best alternative to the prime minister. So
Mm-hmm.
it's either that approach or you wait until the budget is presented, you take it and you analyze it and you come up with a counter proposal that
Mm-hmm.
make for me appearing to be ready
Serious already. Mm-hmm.
is to tell people that you are ready.
Yeah.
You
So we can
understand me?
trust you. So we can
Yeah.
have confidence
Like
in
you
you.
serious, like you say, hey, I'm serious.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is not a thing where you just say, okay, well, budget coming up, so you preempt in the mic saying what a few things, 23 minutes on a Facebook live or Facebook presentation, to me doesn't suffice. Because
And it's like it's an opportunity to shine.
the
So
Minister of Finance is going to present the budget for 2.5 hours.
mm,
What you said in 23 minutes that can make me believe that you're ready. So you either sit down and you know what the budget is. You've been in Parliament. You're an economist for years. You know,
right.
get something nice and solid
Mm-hmm.
because you know what are the productive sectors. You know what are the most effective. You know, based on global situations, what are new initiatives would be needed and so on. So you set up something, or you wait until it is presented and you come up with something that can make people compare and contrast. How many people you hear talking about the presentation, the Facebook presentation? How many people you hear? Exactly.
I know.
That thing has disappeared into thin air already. So, I mean, let's get serious. Let's get serious. And if that is how the 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 issue of opposition in Parliament in Dominica is going to be handled, then we might as well settle for one party being in government until I don't know when.
You look
Yeah.
last year I was very irritated clearly. And I was once I say what it is, the opposition in couple with the government, man. Like wait, this is somebody's post. Somebody posted this like earlier today, I think. They said the parliamentary opposition in Dominica is just as fake as the government side.
Hey, let me tell you, there's a pollster, a Grenadian pollster who lives in Canada, and he was being
Yeah.
interviewed by this program in Grenada called the Narrative.
Uh-huh.
And he said something that is interesting, and it's interesting you would say that. You know what he said? He said Dr. Keith Mitchell is the biggest supporter of the NDC because NNP is Keith Mitchell's party.
Uh-huh.
And so he went on to explain that for as long as Keith Mitchell stays as leader of NNP, he's doing two things. He's solidifying NDC's position in government, and he's also enabling some of his supporters to go across and vote them. So he said Keith Mitchell, is the biggest supporter of the NDC. And that is very similar to what you're saying. You said that is the supporting the complot.
Yeah.
Right? And but by virtue of their inactivity or
Or the way their strategy, the way
their
they're
strategy.
and yeah,
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
they're
and
presenting.
that's not good. That's not good for
It's not good
governance
for
in the
the
country.
country. It's not good for the current government.
Yeah,
Definitely not good for the opposition
yeah,
itself.
it's not good. Nobody's holding their feet to the fire.
Yeah,
Nobody.
and
You
that's
think
not
these people?
good.
You think these people worry about anybody going on Q95 and ranting and making noise and
That doesn't
saying
count.
that? They don't worry about that.
It does
They
not
don't worry about
count.
that. You know, is when somebody goes to parliament and is able to present a proposal that is, yeah, Mr. Manstad, yeah. Sorry about that, my dog. Somebody is causing him to.
To be agitated, to be
Yeah,
excited.
I don't think he's agitated. He's probably just excited.
Is
Yeah,
happy.
but yeah, uh, but yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for AWP. I don't. I still feel like I say there needs to be um some independent thinkers who not necessarily in parliament, but who are outside there readying themselves
Hmm.
um, to step into the parliament to really do the hard work,
Yeah, to shake up
because
the system.
because we
Needs to be
cannot
shaken.
continue to have one organization just having its way.
I mean, who is that good for? I keep thinking about. You remember the guy from Haiti, Papa Doc Duvalier? That's what I keep seeing that we're creating, and it's
Mhm.
us creating it because somehow we've decided that that's okay. It's a lazy way, in my view, to exist. It's quite lazy and it robs us of the opportunity to get an inpouring of new talent. It
Yeah,
completely robs the country of the fresh new imagination of all these other Dominicans who are also skilled when we're doing
yeah,
it like that. So the country has stayed flat and boring, descending into La
yeah.
Ferimon. Look, you have kids, it's manifesting itself in the society. We think these things are just showing up. It's all part and parcel of this thing we're doing. It's all
And if
part
you
and
remember what
parcel.
I said earlier on, I said it's almost like the country has been re-politically culture
A new
culturalized.
template's been put on it, and now it
I'm
can't
ending
be.
my own term here, but it's like so there is a different a new thing that has taken place in the politics in Dominica that makes it appear to be difficult to be an opposition party
Makes
or
it appear.
opposition
Makes
voice.
it appear. But I
Yeah,
mean, it's not good for us.
no,
I mean, think about this like in real life. If I have something and I have an old pipe system, or I have an old whatever, an old phone. I keep getting upgrades, you know, new programming. If you keep the system as is, and every now and then you put out the old, you do a little wash, a little flushing out, right? They bring in some new parliamentarians every now and then, but you have the same old structure, the same old software, on the phone. How are you going to
putting
keep? Right now, we on Chat GPT. All
putting
man leaving us
new wine in
behind.
old bottles,
We
putting new wine
think we're
in old
doing
bottles.
something with that. It can't be. It is ridiculous.
Mhm,
That's not the best way to do much. I mean, you have the
mhm,
old programming on the phone. You understand?
mhm.
Talking about, oh, well, I add a new app. You add a new app, but it's the same software. Meanwhile, people on version 14, 15, 16, they're using AI on you. And your system must be hamstringed just by the fact that it is essentially the same thing for all of these years. So the same, whatever problems, whatever you're doing well, you're going to keep doing well. So if you were strong and you can lift up 500 pounds on that, and you have a big, big, big muscle here and a little mega hand over there. That's the beauty of having these political systems come in, flush out, come in, flush out. We have crippled ourselves, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it in the society.
Yeah,
We're seeing it. It's not good.
yeah, you're right. You're correct. You're absolutely correct.
And I think people need to, that's the part of the mind I'm hoping even our leaders see, based on their understanding of systems and of people, see that it is, you all have, you've been there for a long time. I mean, how much new, what else you need to offer us that you haven't offered us in 20 something years? What else? Are there no other Dominicans who can do what you're doing? Really? Like, come
Let
on
me tell
now.
you something. I mean, you you touching on some points here. I mean, you said, you asked what else is new that you can offer, and it's not that, I will say here, it's not that someone who's been sitting there for that long cannot offer new, but you have to be open to new ideas yourself. You have to be open. If you have gotten to a point where you feel that you've got it all, you know it all, and you, the appearance of listening is just that, the appearance, but at the end of the day it's you, then that is where you become what I consider dangerous. You
Of
understand?
course,
Because
it's a
power
fixed
clearly now
mindset.
has
Yeah,
gotten to you,
yeah.
and I think that that is the issue. You see, I mean, let's look at something. There's so much being spoken about. Oh, Dominica has moved so much and come a long way. And let's be fair. Dominica have made some movements. I mean, we're not where we were 40, 30 years ago. So there's been some change. But where we are now tells you that we could be
Relative,
so much further. When you look at,
relative to our
yeah,
peers.
exactly.
Oh
Look
my
at what,
goodness.
when I left when I was in Dominica recently, and I went to another Caribbean country for a couple of days. I saw so much that in just in the very same areas that Dominica is still behind. I remember being in Portsmouth, my friend, the first weekend I came in, and the entire weekend, not one ATM in Portsmouth was working. I saw tourists. I saw these people almost smash an ATM machine at the bank. They were upset. These people came to get money. Caucasians. So I know the tourists, could hear them, you could see the renters. Upset. A whole weekend, you cannot get an ATM. But we're talking about, we're ready to attract foreign investors. We're ready. I went to a particular financial institution in Dominica. And in this day and age, I was told for me to get a renewal of a card, because I had lived out of Dominica for a couple of years, I need to fill a form manually. I was like, I could send you the information electronically. No, we need a paper form. You have to fill it, sit down there and fill. I was like, what? And I'm saying, but we're talking about, we're ready. We're ready to attract the world when it comes to development. So when people talk about, oh, we've done so much to develop the country, the question that comes up is, have we developed ourselves individually as against developing? Are some people so well developed that they think because they're so well developed, the rest of the country is?
That is it. That
We
is
need
it.
to,
It's the
I'm just
perspective.
throwing that out there,
It's
I'm
the
just saying. So,
perspective there. It's the perspective. And again, we have to be reasonable with this. Yes, we've come a long way from being there do Bontier. We get that. We get that. But relative to our peers, we are essentially stagnant. And
yeah,
we've got to be honest about this. Like
yeah,
I said, the iPhone 6, you still have the iPhone 6, while other people have the iPhone 14 with
yeah.
all of these brand new features on it. And yes, your iPhone 6 is working. And clearly you think that's the best you can do. Clearly, because you keep holding on to it. Although you could trade it in. You could go to AT&T right now and get a brand new, you don't even have to pay a dime if you've had it for this long.
Mhm.
And because we can get so stuck, we can get very stuck in safety. We can get very stuck in safety. I also think, again, the opposition needs to do better. Whatever these opposing
But
forces are,
where's the opposition? Where, I
whatever
mean,
these
where?
opposing people are, they need to present Dominica an alternative. And they need to, the walls between egos and separate, I am this and you are that, need to fall. And Dominica needs to stand up. My love for Dominica needs to trump these individual ideologies or ways I think I can do it. Because you don't need complete agreement. You need a through line of agreement on intention to make something like that work. You don't need everybody to agree and to be on one accord on everything. How are you going to get that?
Yeah,
But there,
I would love to see those young people who are sitting in the opposition now in parliament be given some help, you know, because
help
like
in
it or
what?
not, they are the official opposition. So, like I said, I'm not bashing them. I just think they're green. They knew. I think
They're
they
not
were.
ready.
I think they were unprepared for that.
Mm,
So I think they need some guidance, and they need to learn fast. They need to
mm.
learn fast because those you're dealing with on the other side, the veterans.
The 20 something years
Yeah.
in.
So you
Yeah.
need to learn fast, and it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to the country. The other, people who have opposing views, who are expecting them to carry those views into parliament and represent those views. So I think they need to learn fast. Other than that, we're going to continue to stay
To
in a
lag
state where
behind,
one set
stagnate.
of people just going to run the country like it's their father estate. One man is going to
But it's
pretend
not
like he
good
has.
because we're seeing the results of
Yeah, it's
that.
absolutely, it's not. Of course, we know it's not good. With the level of disrespect, the level of arrogance that is being spewed out that people know post that last election there, and that's the bad. The level of disrespect and arrogance. The arrogance has gone to a different level.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, what? I mean, but it's publicly evident. I mean, when you listen to the responses to certain questions raised, you listen to the
Oh,
utterances.
you mean like, ugh,
Listen, look at the press conference I was held maybe a month or two ago.
I called it the presser from hell because I
I
was like,
mean,
clearly, this
I
is
felt
hell.
sorry for this young lady. I felt so sorry for her. I mean, you are the head of the country. You go to you called your press conference. You invited the media to your press conference. They came. They asked you a legit question. The question was legitimate,
Absolutely. Any,
and
that is,
you flew into a rage where you were openly disrespectful using foul language.
and
Um,
those people don't even want me to say Bonda, no? The same people that did not
no,
call their leader to account,
you
they don't
know,
want me to say Bonda, no, in my
how
face.
do you how and then and there was a statement in that whole outburst that was made that maybe a lot of people didn't pay attention to. But when you after you finish tear up the young lady and chew and spew out, you went further to say you are concerned when such a question is coming from DBS. So you mean DBS is not supposed to ask objective questions and legitimate questions because
That
they
was
are
very shocking. That
state-owned?
was very shocking.
I mean, really. So that tells you that, and that statement speaks volumes. It tells you what sort of what the media in Dominica has to. Because if you
It's going
know this
through.
was if you know that was a DBS reporter, that even if you feel the question prick you somewhere, you could have been a little softer and a little more calculated. You went for them, and then to say that it means if that question had come from somebody at Kyrie or Q95 or DNO or MO, my God, you would sanction the person public lynching them. I mean, how do you do that?
That's
People
very
and people,
worrisome
and
to
you know
me when
what?
it comes to the
You know what
media.
was even more troubling, my friend? There were people, there were people who took to social media and radio and defended that in.
I couldn't believe it, but I
Defend,
could.
yes, defended that in.
I couldn't believe
Defended
it, but I could.
the man's action and utterances. I never heard up to date. I may be wrong. Maybe he did. The man never even apologized. In
Yeah, I
retrospect,
was
you say, you know
very
what? Okay,
disappointed.
I was, you know, but you never apologize. First, there are a couple of lessons to come which emanated from that. One, you gave information that they didn't ask you for. So you
Mm,
opened up yourself to
mhm,
more scrutiny
mhm.
because what you were responding to was nowhere close to what they
Was
asked.
not the question. Was not
That
the
was
question.
not the question. So
Yeah.
one, you open up yourself to more scrutiny. And that is why I believe more questions now should be thrown at you along what you said. Two, you were disrespectful, very disrespectful. Your language was just not befitting of the office that you
Was not
hold.
presidential, as we
Yes.
will
And then
talk about presidency.
you attack the media, and not only that, you sent a subtle message of threat.
That part. A
subtle message of threat. So
that part
you
was
can understand why there isn't any big move towards Freedom of Information Act being.
Yeah, that part was very disappointing, because I thought to myself, what? That was an innocuous question. That was just a question that was like, that was a freebie, really, to escape.
Let me tell you something. You said it was innocuous. Let me tell you something.
It was a freebie. To avoid.
You never see you. I'm sorry. You swimming in the sea. Well, maybe you haven't that experience. I haven't. But imagine you swimming and you're beating your foot and you're in the sea. And
like
all of a sudden you arouse a shark's attention. The shark wasn't. You never wanted to trouble shark, but you just happened to make a little noise around, and the shark get fast, and the shark ready to eat you.
I was disappointed by that, because I said to myself, what is going on? Because normally, the responses are typically with a smile. It's BS, but it's still said with a smile.
Thank you. I was waiting for you to add that part.
It's BS, but at least it's presented and offered.
Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss,
Well, I don't know, but
with a kiss.
That is the pasture child.
With a kiss. All right. Okay. All right.
You know those recordings there of the Testament.
Killing me softly.
Right. But that was disturbing, because
very disturbing.
We need the press. We need freedom of the press. The press.
That's the voice of the people.
Yeah, we need the press. Clearly, think about it. Like I've likened this system to a big elephant. A big elephant system.
Long I haven't heard that word elephant.
A big elephant system, because you've been there for so long. You have control over all of the systems in the country. You're essentially a one-party government. You have everything in your favor. So you are the Goliath force. You are the big elephant, right? You are the Gwobude. And to have that level of whatever towards the Pat Finn representation in that interaction, come on. Like, that was way to me over the
top. The reaction stemmed from, and I'm convinced, I don't care what anybody else thinks, that's just my personal opinion. I believe the reaction came from coming too close to my bobo. You coming too close to my bobo. You almost hurt my bobo. You coming too close to something that is so sensitive to me. But what other logical conclusion can you draw from such a response? A simple question. And if I remember the question, well, it was, there's a building coming up in Roseau, right? A lot is being said about it. Is it owned by the government or by the private sector? It was never asked whether you own the building. It was never asserted that you own the building. Now, who's the head of government? You. So who has the obligation to respond to somebody asking whether something is owned by the government?
That was a reasonable question. That was quite a reasonable question.
A simple no, it's not owned by government.
Yeah.
As far as I know. And I don't know who in the private sector owns it, would suffice. Now, say there was some follow-up question about you. That still would not have been a justified way to respond.
Right. Because we have to be able to question our leaders.
But one couldn't, because you're a public figure.
Yeah.
But one would have probably want to excuse you and say, so if everybody, if the man building a building, he have to come and say building a building. Somebody could say that.
Right. With the smile.
But you cannot fly out of your jacket like you're ready to eat the
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, it did make it seem like this was a tender spot.
So then it leaves me to ask, well, what's going on?
Mhm.
What is the issue? Did they come too close to your fence? So you
Mhm.
let go your pit bull after them? What happened? And I believe if more like questions were being asked and more similar reactions were coming out, then there would be more to learn. But you
It's
see,
just sad to watch how cowed adults have become. How bowed and
yeah,
it's a survival issue too, it's like if I'm worried that my job can be taken away from me, like the young man on the bayfront who for 3 years he has his bar on the bayfront and he gets 2 days notice that the cops are going to come and take his bar apart. I don't know the rest of the story, but I mean, as a human being, a young man, you've allowed him to be there for all of these years and you give him 2 days
I
of
have
notice.
I have a different view, a slightly different view on that. See, again, everything has three sides, if you ask me. The
A
right
lot
side,
of
the wrong side,
times
and the side.
sometimes.
Now, you said, and rightly so, he's been allowed to be there for that long.
Clearly, 3 years is a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I have no knowledge or no information to say either for or against that he was told prior to the 2 days or not told. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So,
Let's say based on his report.
well, which is what I do not want to do. I don't want to just go with what he says. You see, I want to, because I would want to think, I want to give some credit to the
The
people
authorities.
who took the decision that they would have
Mm.
told him a week before, a month before, 6 months before, bro, this thing needs to be taken down.
Right.
It is not sightly,
Not good there.
this and that. The other thing is too, and that is why I hope Dominicans can um, be objective somewhat. No, I have nothing against the young man. I don't know him. I believe he's been doing something to feed himself and his family. Take care. That's fine. He's not on the
He's been
street
running a
crying.
business. He's been running a business. Yeah.
However, I tell you what,
Hmm.
there's no water. There's no, the normal thing you expect in a food a place that
Establishment.
dispenses, right.
Hmm.
Say for example, somebody had gone there and bought something or drank something and claimed that they got sick, they got food poisoning, they got some drink that messed them up right there. And they
Hmm.
say it's that place. The flip side you would have heard is the government should have taken up Mr. DeLong. They know he didn't have hotel. They know he didn't have light. They know he don't have food and less permit. They know it is that. That is what you would have heard, the very same people. So we
I'm
have to
sure.
bring both sides of the divide to the table.
And
Did
and
the
here's
young
the thing.
man, did the
I
young
I'm
man,
with you. I'm with you on that because I do believe that the bayfront needs to be properly set up.
absolutely,
But it's the same thing
absolutely,
as with the airports. Can we plan and do things properly? So have an arrangement, set up your business people because that's who your people are on the bayfront. They're earning their monies. So they are business people, they're small business owners. Create a transition plan, put them somewhere so you can reclaim this, the
yeah.
property on the bayfront.
I
But to
mean,
do
and
it
we
in a
have,
way that is so disruptive to people's everyday emotional
yeah.
lives,
So,
livelihoods, it's not
yeah,
necessary.
yeah. So. I mean, you're right. That's why I say we should bring both sides of the discussion to the table,
Of course.
because I would think if you want him out, you're gonna tell him, give him at least 6 weeks. Yo, bro,
Of
listen,
course.
we understand, but listen, you have to take. We're giving you a deadline of that day to take
Of
that down.
course.
And I would think not only word of mouth. No, one may say, oh, he didn't write and ask permission to go there, so we didn't have to write him. But you have to operate above the board.
You
If
are
you
the
are the
official.
official, you should write to him and say,
Yeah,
listen, whatever is your name, Mervyn Paul, with that,
exactly.
whatever you call it on the front, you based on so planning, you don't have planning permission, the place doesn't have proper sanitation, so you can put all the reasons you want. We giving
Exactly.
you up till that time to take that down,
That's
failure to
right.
do that by that time, so and then you can back yourself up with that.
That's
You
right.
understand? So
That's right.
I understand. So to come and just disrupt him, but that's what I'm saying. In the absence of information as it relates to what conversation they may have had with him, me,
Right.
I
Right.
cannot
Right.
say
Right.
that they wrong or anything. You understand what I'm
I
saying?
agree. I
But
agree.
what I'm also saying is, and that is why I say people must take the emotion out of the discussion a lot of times and try and be
Hmm.
objective. If
Hmm.
somebody got sick, if somebody got messed up because of a drink he mixed there, or a food, something they ate, there's some chicken or something, and
They
they
would
say
say
it's
blame the
mixed up,
government.
and the same people who are clamoring now for him to stay would have said, "Oh, the government should take out Mister there. Oh my God,
Right.
maybe that maybe get sick and that kind of thing." And all those
Right.
things. I know typical Dominicans. I know what they would do. So
Yeah.
when those kind of things happen, it is for me like the discussion I'm having with you. I had it with a very good friend of mine in Dominica, and I said to him the same thing I'm saying. I said to him, "You have the young man's ear. Go talk to him and tell him all these Facebook posts he making, they're not helping the situation.
Mm.
Stay away because he was speaking purely out of the hurt that was
Right.
caused. And a lot of times when we get hurt, we do not respond to the hurt. We mask it by getting aggressive and saying, and then we regret. I
Mm-hmm.
said to the person, speak to this young man and tell this young man, bro, your livelihood was messed up because you
Hmm.
felt it was sudden on you. Bite the bullet, go through the process of getting somewhere for you to set up yourself and restart again. You will
As
survive.
fast as you
But
can.
what
As
you're
fast as
doing there
you can.
doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. And you see, that is where I see now with the authorities that they need to treat people in a way that's indicative
Respectfully.
of you
Respectfully.
caring. Because I heard the
Just
prime minister,
respectfully.
somebody asked the prime minister something about that at one of his recent press conferences.
Hmm.
And he said, well, I don't know the young man. I don't know the young man. I would love to be able to meet him and so on. You know, that once I hear you'd love to be able to meet him, I know that's trying to put in a pacifier in a baby's mouth.
Hmm.
I'd have to be able to meet him and so on. However, and you know, we want to make the Bayfront look presentable and so on and so on. I'm not saying he cannot do something on the Bayfront, but not with plywood, not with galvanized, not with
So he
tarpaulin.
said
Yes. Once you say that, once
that
he said that, I you
that means
say
that was set up then.
you say
Well,
you don't know about the decision, you don't know you but now you jump in and say you're not
no
implied,
plenty.
bro, nobody fooling me. Nobody fooling me.
I agree that the Bayfront is a beautiful piece of real estate that needs to be intentionally presented, right? But it's almost as if the government, or whoever is making these decisions, they are not thinking about the repercussions and how terrible it makes them look based on the way they're actually doing certain things. And those things can be avoided. It's like,
But
why
and
you have people just stressed out for no reason? Just do the
in
thing with
keeping
a little order.
with your point that you made earlier on about the relocation, you see, there must be a level of consistency. And that is what causes people to question the motives behind those things because there are people who are set up in
Right.
other places selling food and
And
providing
get
services without license, without planning permission. But because they are friends of certain politicians or political organizations, they're allowed to get away with it. You
yeah.
see? And so
It makes everybody look bad.
you cannot say one thing when it applies to some people, and when it comes to another set, you pay a blind eye like you don't know. You understand what I'm saying?
Causes too much pain in the community. Causes too much pain. And that pain lasts a long time. A long time. So this gentleman right here, think about it as a human being. I get, let's suppose it's 2 days notice I got. My whole life is gone. Right? I got to restart. When you move, that's one of the top stresses in life. You got to start your whole business again. And there's no work in the country like that to
Yeah.
say he can just go make a quick, let me work part-time over there to supplement as I get back online when I've had this steady stream of income. So think about these things as a human being before you work with other human beings.
Yeah. Yeah, but it really wasn't like it really wasn't looking nice on the Bayfront to have that kind of thing. I mean, let's
And it
we
didn't
have,
have to be that way. It didn't have to be
yeah,
that way.
yeah. I mean, and again, and that is, I hope that is still as a lesson for Dominicans that you don't just see an empty plot of land or see something and just say, well, you go and you want to just go and do it, because that's what's going to eventually happen to you. So if you feel that you want to do something, let's follow the proper
Order,
procedures, and so
order.
you don't have to deal with that, because the people who are responsible may not be sympathetic to you later when they come to court, say your little
Exactly.
place down. So
Exactly.
to avoid that going forward, while we arguing and people cursing and making noise and so on, those things should serve as reference points for us going forward. You want to do something, it's maybe a government piece of land, you see it's
Mhm.
unoccupied, go find out from planning, see if you can get a lease, something. Or if you have a
Follow
plot of land and you
channels.
want to set up something, get somebody to drop a little thing for you, get planning to approve it, get your little pipe, your little sewer, do your thing. So you
Mhm.
organize yourself, you know what I mean? That you don't
Mhm.
have to be, you don't have to be messed up. It's like I heard somebody talking about all the street side garages, which are just propping up all over the place. People just opening mechanic shops all over the place on the roads.
Really?
Yeah, man, all over Dominica, and so on. Now, if tomorrow they bring a big grader, a big caterpillar, and they start to grade down your place and take it out, you have no legal leg to stand on.
You'll be hurt.
You have no legal leg to stand on. So to avoid those things, because they're going to do it at some point,
Of
especially if
course,
somebody tell
as
them,
they should.
if somebody tell them something, Mr. doesn't support
And even if they were not supporting you, this is out of order. This is
Yeah,
dysregulated.
I know. I'm just saying it's going to happen to you. So use that as a reference point and tell yourself, well, you know what? Let me go through the proper procedures to get stuff, and so you avoid people having to take advantage of you, or to
You're
trick
also
you.
suggesting that if they do it, they have to make sure they prepare for them to walk up certain steps and take off their hat. Remember those old man in the massa? Yes, yeah, boss. Yeah, boss.
Well, well, it is somewhat, it's almost like a phenomenon in Dominica now, where you have to
You have to bend the
genuflect.
knee.
You have to
You have to bend the
genuflect,
knee.
genuflect.
You have to bend the knee
And then when you decide to stand,
as a man
yeah,
or
well,
as a
you come
human
for
being.
your jugular.
You'll
you
feel the burn.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, what the good Lord. Woo. But that helps me understand why this stuff is pouring into the society, and we have these. For me, there's a sucking out of masculine energy in Dominica. It's out of whack. There's a lot of the pride, right? The pride and the doing the right thing, and the where people were really proud about themselves and providing for themselves and taking care of what was their own. That's Calgo say. You understand? It's on his side. Punch it in,
Mm-hmm.
punch it in. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got to get back into following rules and regulations. Like you said, when you came, one of the biggest transitions was coming here and realizing I can't get 5 months off of work. You know what I mean? I've got to earn my vacation time. Got to follow rules. Like my pay scale is different or whatever. I've got to pay taxes before I even get my money. You know, this is what adults do. This is what adults do. We are growing. Gosh, we would have hoped that we were at a point where we could do these things as a community, as a culture. These are the things I talk about when I say we need to grow up. Because if you want grown up results, you gotta do grown up things. If you want different results, you have to be willing to take different action. Okay. I hear Mervin's dog is having a serious conversation with him over there. But in the meantime, let me look at some of your
Yeah, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. I was just
questions.
I was
I
just
hear you.
I was just telling him to come and take the dog because
I
Mr.
hear
Like
you.
Mr.
Before
Like
we go, we've been here for a little bit. I guess it's been a
yeah.
while since we talked, right?
Oh yeah.
But I want to hear your thoughts on the ret- retiring of the president or something like that. But before we do that, and I'm hearing all sorts of shenanigans. Again, games and,
Mm.
just I'm like, people are so done. I know I am so done with these the nonsense. Like, just we're wasting so much time to me. To me, we're wasting time with a lot of obfuscation and just games. It's very boring at this point. Um, let me just look at some comments. Cam Henderson says, "Not for the life of me can I understand how we can accept another 24 hours of this foolishness going on." It's
Yeah,
really just you're like, no, it's not necessary. Please see what we're seeing. But I'm happy to hear you, Mervyn, say that from what you're hearing, people are
yeah,
waking
man.
up.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, I am just so, I am so moved to hear, and I mean, like I said, I'm not at liberty to, put anybody's name out there, but I could tell
Mhm.
you, it's, I'm encouraged, and I really hope that that fire is beginning, that is lit, is will continue to spread, because people's consciousness need to be awakened, man. It
Their
needs to.
humanity needs to be reawakened. It's almost like as if we're still young enough. People our age, again, I knew last year I had to start saying something based on what I was seeing and perceiving. Not everybody is not right in their perception, but wherever you're perceiving something from, whatever it is you're seeing, it's worthy of sharing that. And yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. People in our generation, maybe we go down to the little ones in preschool, but we've lost certain Dominica values that kept us well for a long time, and we still have the information, so we can download that into our kids or grandkids, and do that in an intentional way, because this political business, it came and it did something very nasty to us.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I cannot agree more. I mean, I'm telling you. And one of the things that really, and I'll repeat it, one that really, it's hurtful, but it is scary, is the fear, the level of fear that still exists. That is why some of the people who are talking to me are even talking to me covertly. The level of fear. Right now, speaking out and speaking up is a bad thing in Dominica.
Can you believe this?
You become an enemy of the state if you
Can you
speak
believe
up.
that?
I mean, and these are from both sides of the pendulum. Let me tell you. For example,
Yes.
some people are still to this day are attacking me because they
Yes.
say, "Oh, you were part of it, you were part." So I don't have the right to now stand up and say, "Well, the light of day has come,"
Yeah.
I today I have a different view.
My perception, exactly.
Yeah,
This is my
I don't have
perception
that right.
today.
People despise me still. People say all sort of nasty things to me. Well, you know me, that
Right.
I don't bother.
It's like,
But
who cares?
what if
Who
they say those things to
cares?
somebody else who cannot handle it the way I handle it? You causing somebody who could be an agent of change to shut down. And then on the other side of it is, I mean, I went to Dominica and I visited certain couple government offices. Not because I wanted to go there, but I had to. The couple things I had to take
Mm.
care of. And there are people who told me, "Boy, them man see you inside. Then let's go somewhere else and talk." Because they see me talking to you, they will say I
Can
turn
you
like.
believe this?
I was like, "What?
It's like a
What's
communist
talking
country.
about?"
Like, when did that happen?
But you should be
But it
free
is
to talk to me.
reality.
So you can't even talk to me now because I am speaking out and I am perceived to be I hate the country so much that I'm speaking against things that if you talk to me, they will see you the same way and you mightn't get a promotion. There are people I spoke to in the public service who 20 plus years in the public service and telling me they rather talk to me. I call them tomorrow or tonight where we can talk because if they see them talking to me, their name went up for they were recommended for a promotion, they mightn't get it. That I just in Dominica. It's scary. I mean, and I'm saying,
It's
why?
disgusting, is what it is. It's disgusting.
Why?
It's disgusting. That's what it is. It's scary, it's disgusting, and it's unacceptable.
In a
And it
little
ought not to
country
be
like
happening.
Dominica, you people, but again, it's worked for them.
It's
They've
a
been able
waste
to
of
muzzle some people.
it's a waste of Dominica's resources. Because when you muzzle these people, this is Dominica.
Yeah.
The talent from that person you muzzle is a gift Dominica needs to grow, to elevate, to get to the level of her peers. That's
Imagine, my
why
friend.
nou ka gwiji bon dan nou as
Imagine,
la ou ya.
imagine I met a couple partners that me and these guys were tight, nice. You know what I mean? Well, not because of we
You grew
back
up
then
together like you were real.
we supported the same political party, but our friendship was not based on that.
Yes.
Them guys,
You break.
coupes, them man vex with me. Them man want to talk to me. I'm like,
Big man. Can you imagine?
what?
Big
Because
men.
fellas say, oh, by here, you know, are you giving us blows? What you mean
Different.
giving
You have
us
a different
blows,
thought.
brother? I've
You have
never
different thought.
attacked anybody
Can you
personally.
imagine?
I've only spoken about what things that are going on in the country
Can you
that we
imagine?
should do better.
Can you imagine? Do you all realize how gross that is everywhere else?
And
It's
that
gross.
let me tell you, that is culture. That is there's a deliberate effort to have people behave like that. And I'm not telling that because I think, I know based on conversations that I was privy to. I know that there is a calculated effort to ostracize and isolate people, to make them feel that you're not part of, and pressure them until
They
they
break.
find themselves part of the
They
of
break.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So man, it's
Well,
crazy, man. It's crazy.
it is very, in my view, disgusting. It's been a waste of our capital. It's been a
Mhm.
waste of our human capital. It's been a waste of Dominica's human capital. Because when you do that to the human beings from Dominica, you deny Dominica these people's talents and their offerings to Dominica. How dare you? What kind of brain can fathom that this portion of the country is all we need to survive? How can that make sense?
And
How does that make sense?
that is what prolonged hold on power does. It makes you feel two things. One, you become fearful of losing that power.
Mm, mm, mm.
That's one. Two, you've now realized that the only way you can hold on to power is to rule by fear, subtle intimidation. And people must understand intimidation comes in many different forms.
Many
There are those
forms.
great loud mouth aggressors who will come to you and try and back you up in a corner. There are
Yeah.
those who will use coercion. They will use coercion. They will use
Yep.
material things. They will feed you.
Bribery even.
They will make your environment um,
Uncomfortable.
weak. No, no,
Yeah.
weak. They'll make you, yeah, they'll make it uncomfortable for you that you will
Mhm.
see them as the only light.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are also those who will create problems
Absolutely. To
in
come rescue you.
a covert way and then appear to be the savior.
A savior. Yes.
They created the problem. You don't know because they use their surrogate, they use
Right.
their channels, and then you run into I have to go to so and so and tell them, not realizing this is the same person who created the problem. They created the problem, but they have to appear to be the God. So they create the problem for you to come around. So all those things there. These are different ways of subjecting people to your will and to get them to do what you want. And when you keep them like that,
Look, at if you know, I think that new way of doing politics was such a shock to the system. We talk about internal and external shocks. That was such a shock to the system that it took the people by surprise. Like they didn't see it coming. So essentially it's almost taking like half a generation for them to realize, okay, why am I really doing this? And what's in this for me? And is this really helpful? And you know, so now their eyes can be opening, as they look too, because there's so much more access to other cultures. You
let me
have your
tell you,
phones and all of that. You see
you
it's different everywhere else.
you are the psychologist and you'll help me explain that. But it's just like a habit. habit will grow on you sometimes, and you don't realize it's dangerous until it lands you in trouble.
Absolutely.
Because it as it is growing, it doesn't hurt you, or it doesn't
Absolutely.
appear to hurt you, or you're
Yeah.
not seeing the little hurts
Yeah. Yeah.
until you crash land. Then
Yeah.
you realize.
Yeah.
So too
Yeah.
are these people, and their objectives and their motives.
Yeah.
They mask it so well that it grows on you,
Yes.
and you become comfortable with it. By the time you realize, but what have I been sucked into? They have you right where they want you.
I know.
Your
You're
economic
vulnerable.
your economic environment depends on them, because
Yeah.
of you know you get a little apartment.
Yeah.
um you
An
had land,
apartment you can't bequeath to your child, your grandchild.
yeah, you had land, and where they could assist you in building us, but they realize if they do
Oh
that,
my God.
they make you too independent, so they
Too
put you in an
independent.
apartment.
Oh
And
my
you,
God.
oh, I get in an apartment. Oh, it's fun, but wait a while, I don't have yard, I don't have nothing, I can't do nothing. You see,
And that
remember,
is not mine. When I die,
you
they
understand?
come in quick and take out the
Right.
clothes
So
there.
yeah, so
Oh,
sometimes those things grow on you, and it happens
yeah.
by design. It happens by
Absolutely.
design. And if you're not careful, and a lot of other people, I used that word earlier on, a lot of people have become so gullible.
Yeah. Very
That
trusting.
yeah, they exactly, they've given, because it's like, well, and people, and then when people got to the point where they figure they have the right where they want to, then their true self, the monster now is exposed.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't breathe. That monster will just chew you up.
But it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
What is Marshall asking? Marshall is asking, does the Constitution allow Dominicans to form an election observer team, just like officials like those at the OAS and the Commonwealth? Do you know that?
well, I mean, from what I know, when anytime there's an election, I don't think there's anything in the Constitution that gives that kind of guarantee, for want of a better word. But what I
Mm,
know is, anytime there's an election, the government writes to whoever they want to be up, or they want to welcome or
okay,
invite. That's the word.
got
To
you.
be observers. So they write to the OECS, they write to CARICOM, they write to
So regular
OAS.
citizens, like a group of regular citizens, could
Well,
not just.
again, you see, the thing is, when you want to be an election observer, I mean, I'm not saying you can. You probably would have to write to the government and let them know that you would like to be an election, because they have to
Mm,
provide you the necessary security. They have to give you
mhm.
the permission to enter the polling stations
Got
and
you. Got you.
observe and all that. Now, if you go there on your own, you can be arrested, because remember that is
Right.
a very sacred thing.
Mhm,
You can't just enter and say you're an observer. You have to
mhm.
have your identification, which is certified and all of that. So I'm
Right.
not saying a team of Dominicans living in kind of write to the government and say we want to be election observers. We would like to be afforded the
Mhm,
right and the privilege and all that, and let the government decide. But you
mhm.
can't just come in on your own and say, well, I'm an
Just say
election
I'm going to
observer.
observe.
You see, because anybody who is an election observer in the country is given the green light by the government, and you have to get the necessary security and be catered for, all
Mhm,
that is required and so on. So it
mhm.
is. I mean, yeah, I guess you can make the request, but it is
Up
the
to
government
them.
who has, yeah, to
You
decide
see.
whether they want to give it the clearance, necessary clearance.
Amma says people at home, they've gone into a place like Dominica. Oh, another painful thought. Oh my God. This is the reality where people used to go and do monjune. Man, everybody was working, boy. Everybody was, who was saying no to work? Amma says she needs workers, and a lot of people will just do tricks. Grown men they'll start and try all kinds of tricks. So it's like the love for work in one generation
Well,
is replaced with
well,
something weird.
I see this thing from two sides. One, people have to learn to go back to what it is to earn, work, and
Our
have a
values,
love for work.
our values, our core values. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do that. But there is also that thing where when if people feel they can get free money, they can go and say, well, I need some money, and get some money, and it lasts them for a couple of weeks, and then after they go out, they feel like they have to work. You know, and I think the revisiting of what our values are, is something that is needed, and that is not just a government responsibility, and Mark you. That is
That's
something that or the pillars in our society, the social organizations, the church, the various sports organization, the youth organization have to re-inculcate into people.
absolutely.
Go back to the soil, go back to work, go back to putting in your fortnight and get your paycheck at the end. You know, your month. Do what you have to do, and not become dependent on government or dependent on people to give you freeness. Because we know what happens when that source dries up.
Mm,
You have no skill, you have nothing for yourself. You're going to resort to doing negative things.
exactly.
You know.
Exactly. I must suggest that the people in the diaspora stop supporting people at home,
Well,
except if they're elderly or what.
I mean, if you
Is
have
that
your
right?
grandmother and your
Yeah.
grandfather and your nieces and your nephews, and
Hmm.
they cannot afford, or there are certain things they need that they cannot cater for, and you
Hmm.
have the wherewithal. I mean, you're not going to leave them
It's hard.
starving and
It's a
begging
painful
and leave
choice.
them to the whims and fancies of politicians who are going to take advantage of them. You want to assist them. What I think needs to happen, and I think the barrel days are not over, but I think rather than sending money for them to buy groceries, which was already so expensive in Dominica, maybe those of us out there who have people we want to help, we need to begin to invest in something that is more productive. Um, is there room to set up a little business for them? Is
Business,
there
a little farm.
is there room to help them invest in fishing? If he's a nephew, you have buy a boat and an engine for him. Is there
Yeah.
is a guy, you know, you can buy a swiper for him so he can go out in the day and swipe people's yard, those kind of things. So that you don't have to be sending for them all the time, but you give them the opportunity to earn for themselves. So there may be the barrel days, it's not over, but you have to look at, instead of sending a barrel, doing something for them that will help them, you know, to be able to earn and that kind of thing. So probably maybe
Instead of giving them the fish, teaching them the fish, or
some of
giving them
them,
the opportunity to create their own lives, their own money.
yeah, yeah.
Elliot says you're branded as negative and unpatriotic, and lots of people are scared. I'm so ready for that fear to leave, for people to walk in their true essence again, because fear is such an illusion. It's such an illusion. The level of nepotism and victimization, like I've been so shocked by that. Like I've been like
Don't
what
talk,
is this
don't talk about
blindness?
don't talk about
What
that
is this
nepotism. I
blindness
mean,
about?
it's just crazy. Some of the things I'm hearing, some of the things I'm hearing from people who are, and thankfully I'm still in touch with some people who are sitting right up there. And some of the things I'm hearing about people just being placed in positions are being created for people. While we say we have a heavy public service in terms of the financial
Like
burden,
a burden.
people are still being brought in, created all kind of positions. There are some people, dinosaurs, who have other ways of earning, who are kept in the system because of their political past past political
Actions and support.
actions.
This is
You know,
recompense for. It's
yeah.
like
I mean, really, really, you know, and then you have young people
vie baga Idi Amin, vie qualité manière, toute qualité.
who coming back
In
from
the Republic.
university, young people. My thinking too is, I mean, that is something that has even when I was still working in Dominica, that just I never got over. How do you tell me that a man serves in government for 15, 20 years in parliament, whether a minister, a junior minister, or he ran for election, he retired from the public, won for election, that you would create all kind of position for him. But there are young people finishing college or finishing university and
Rest.
they haven't got job.
That's
Now,
what I'm talking about.
if those positions are positions which are needed to enhance the country's development, they're needed. Why not give these young qualified people those jobs? Why you take a
Giving
man
them
and recycle him and recycle him and recycle him and recycle him? I can think of one person in Dominica today who has held how many ambassadorial jobs? How many advisor jobs? How many director jobs? You know? I mean, really, the man retired about 10 times. You know?
But do you see? That's what I mean when I say, when you compare us to our peers, yeah, to us, we not there the body again. Look, we have pretty house. Look, we have airport coming. Look, we have this. To us, oh, the eyes are. But we still because we added a few new apps or iPhone 6. Meanwhile, people on iPhone 14. That's what you get from just recycling the old and muzzling who you decide to muzzle. You're not God, so you don't know their divine unction, their divine position in the country. You don't know why they were born on that piece of rock, what they're supposed to do for the country. You stifle them, you muzzle them, you hurt all of us. All of us get hurt.
And then you tell me a young person go out, they live in Dominica, whether government assisted scholarship or not, they go out to study, they get qualified, and while they're at college, some institution or some firm offers them something lucrative, and you're telling me that they must come back to do what? To sit down there and go away, or to go to the aid bank to get a small loan to start a business, that they have to go and find out what dress their grandmother was buried in for them
Can
to
you
get.
believe it?
And I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what the hope, like you say, the one very good thing you see is that people are waking up.
Well,
People are
yeah.
waking up. It's going to catch, it must reach a tipping point at a particular time. Again, the energy of the earth is rising. Dominica is not, we like to say it's a planet by itself, is not true now. That energy is going to lift it up and out too. So our consciousness must raise with the rest of the world, rest of the
I
earth.
believe.
That's
I
happening.
believe too. Yeah, I believe too. I believe too. That is where, and I must plug that in here, with your permission. I believe too. That is where people have to return to God and find their
Grounding.
spirituality. Yeah, your
They
footing in
do.
God.
Yes, they do.
Because when evil men are given power and they start to do those things, it's not easy to break it
It's not.
your own.
It's not. It's a
And
spiritual
Dominica
force.
needs a lot of praise. And it's not
It's a
to say the
spiritual
places
force.
are it's not to say the places are bad place and nobody should
Exactly.
go there and so on. But there are bad
Exactly.
things happening in the country and we cannot get away from them. There are wrong
Absolutely.
things happening. And we have to pray as a people. We have to seek God for that country. And we have to not only pray, but we have to act righteously too. We have to act righteously. And acting righteously means even if you've been supporting the government or the party in power for all those years and you know they're doing wrong things, you must muster the energy and the strength to speak truth. Speak truth. Don't do it out of hatred and bitterness because that you will be misguided. But do
Absolutely.
it because you love yourself, you love your brother, man, you love the country, and you want to stand on the side of righteousness. Speak truth.
You want to be a
You know?
representative of the Christ
That's right.
that
That's
you
right.
say you are one with. You understand?
That's
Like,
right.
how does
That's right.
that even, it's just incompatible with that Christ energy. A lot of the
Yeah.
stuff is incompatible with it. So I've read somebody's post. She keeps saying she's not from Dominica, she's married to somebody from Dominica, and she said from her observation, Dominicans are so focused, they're very religious, they talk about their morality a lot. They talk about like, oh, that's not good, and don't do this and don't do that. But when it comes to really act on it and to,
Yeah.
they don't. They do a different thing in large measure.
No,
And
I
we
know
are
you say,
because of that. Many of us are hurting because we are not being consistent with applying our beliefs or Christ energy self. We put it for church on Sunday, but we don't apply it on Monday when we're on the bus.
now I know you say fear is an illusion, but you see, the word of God speaks about fear and how fear is dangerous. So fear is something
It
that
is.
that will literally possess you if you are not aware that you are fearful. And that is where people have to rise up and eliminate fear by speaking up.
They have to be
Speaking up.
honest
Let me tell
too
you,
and
how much
admit their
harm
fear.
how much harm can be brought to you If collectively we all speak up. Now, if you are the only one speaking up, then somebody probably going to try and shut you down. But people
Exactly.
must understand collectively, if you speak up, then you have nothing to fear because the
That's it.
good will overpower the wrong. And people must learn to speak. And like I said, don't do it out of hatred. Don't do it because you hate the members of the opposition or you hate the government. Because once you do it out of hatred, you're already losing
You're
focus.
wrong. You're already wrong.
You have to do it out of genuine love for yourself, for the country, and even the people that you are speaking out
Exactly.
against, because they
Exactly.
even they are hurting themselves too. Because
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, the amassing of wealth and the nepotism and the victimization, they're not comfortable with themselves.
It
These people
cannot
don't
be.
sleep well. They don't
Cannot be.
sleep well. That is why they mask themselves and they surround themselves with a group of people that will tell them all that they want to hear. So it is incumbent upon those of us who have that responsibility, moral and otherwise, to speak out. What fear? When I was going to Dominica for my father's funeral, I remember people telling me, "Boy, them man gonna be watching you." I'm like, "Well, let them watch." Let them watch. What do you think was going to scare me coming to Dominica? Because some people figure politically they would attack me. Man, they said so many, things about me. I couldn't be bothered with that. The
It's
bottom
like,
line
who
is
cares?
today, today, they know where I stand.
Yeah.
Somebody told me the other day, somebody told me, but when you talk like that, they think you hate the prime minister. I say, on the contrary, I love this man a lot.
You see what I'm
On
saying?
the contrary, I love this man a lot. You understand me? When this man started politics, I remember I had a little video of him when he was first interviewed by Lennox. And often I used to send it to him, and even while I was there. On the contrary, I love this man a lot. I despise some of the things that he's doing.
Yeah.
I despise because I know it is wrong, and I know not only what people can see, but I know the intention because I know him well. I know where it's coming from. That is why sometimes when they smile in front of the media, it doesn't fool me. But what I'm saying is nothing I say or no position I've taken, my friend, is out of bitterness towards anybody. I want to see better. I want people to do better. I want people to be honest. When you speak, when you open your mouth and speak to people, I want you to come from a place of honesty. You understand me?
Be real.
And I think a lot of our people are being taken for a ride, and that is where the issue of the fear thing comes up. A lot of people, they know the right thing, and if you say you profess Christ-like attitude, you profess to be a representative of the kingdom of God in this life. You have, because if God was walking the face of the earth, he would not stand up there and know those things right and wrong and not speak against it. So if we want to epitomize him, we have to at least act as if. Act as if.
Absolutely. Or stop
And
calling his name. Or take
yes,
his name out of our mouth. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Or stop calling
You
his
know.
name. Yeah. So
So
we're coming down to, we have about what, 20 minutes? I want to hear about this president situation. Again, the lack of transparency, just games, like it just nonsense,
if I
really.
tell you I know who's going to be president, will you believe me?
I wouldn't doubt you. How about that?
And I'm convinced I know who's going to be president. Yeah.
You're not going to
Uh,
say it? You're going to say it?
no, no.
I know.
I mean, I know who were the candidates. I know how it was narrowed down and how it was arrived at who are the two
The two in
likely
the running?
like. Yeah, I mean, I know. The thing is, people still talk, and some people think that when they speak in closed walls, they people
Right, right, right.
people talk, and so on. But you know, um, at the end of the day, the country's gonna have a ceremonial ahead, and it will happen. It's just that, as usual, when positions like the chief of police and those positions are being done, the opposition just gets a letter the day before and is being told.
Hela.
So, and
And
I
more
think
games,
it's
like the games that's happening with the, what you call it, with Sir Dennis Byron, and oh, I didn't get letter, oh, I get letter, oh, they, just the
so
nonsense.
I think it's the same thing that's going to be employed. The opposition will just be told tomorrow or
Yeah,
the day before, 2 days
yeah.
before, that this person is going to be president. It's not like there's going to be any consultation. Well, I have these two people. Do you have any
Right.
nominees and so on? It's not going to
There's
happen.
no, not even a semblance of like,
It's not going to happen like that. I mean, you can just how this has all that is not going to happen like that. We just can't be told this is the next president.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Well, more iPhone 6 shenanigans. What can I say?
But that is where we are in the country. That is how
That's where
things
we are.
happen. That's how
And
things
that
happen.
is where we are. And we have to just admit it so that we can fix it. Just
Yeah.
admit it. So we can fix it
And that is
already.
the thing, when we say that, when people like you and I speak like that, there are some people out there who are listening and who get in, they pull
They're
it on their ear from
irate.
their head. They vet, they
They're
upset
irate.
because you're saying things. But it is the modus operandi. It is how it's been done all the time. And they know that's what's going to happen. Some of them who are actually supporters of the organization themselves know that that is
Yeah.
a good. Let me give you a quick
Yeah.
example. When the current speaker of the House, is it? I can't. Was it that time? No, the previous speaker,
Mm-hmm.
the previous speaker's name was put forward as the nominee for president
Mm-hmm.
before the current president. There
Mm-hmm.
were people inside that raised trouble, but they didn't have the nuts to face El Supremo and say, no,
Mm-hmm.
we don't agree. They were blowing hot air from their noses
Just
behind
weak.
all kind of doors.
Weak.
When they were brought into the room where they had the opportunity, everybody went on
Cow,
mute.
they bent the knee. They just buckle down. Like all the nuts shrivel up. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I guess maybe some people felt the heat from other sources. So then the change was made, and then Charles Savoy had to resign as a minister, and the position was given to him. But I remember but that is how it is. People, even people with the inside there, they grumbling.
That's the
They just,
disappointing part as adults. As an adult, can you not at least share your thought? As an adult, even if your thought is different than the person next to you, can you not at least give yourself permission to share your thought, mon cher?
but guess what they will do? They'll
Well,
go on the next
isolate them.
level. They will go on the hang, and they will come for people like you and I. While they are in agreement.
Yeah.
Let me expose something here without calling names. There's a particular executive member who called me. The first article I wrote. You remember the first article I wrote?
The hot potato.
Yes. Yeah. The person called me, and the person is currently sitting on the executive and say, "Boy, Merv, boy, I hear you giving our partner blues and giving the party blues." I say, "Wow, blues." I say, "What is it did
I
I
don't know
say in
why
the
they
article?
even say that.
What is it did I say in the article that was incorrect?" The person say, "Well, you were not wrong, but you could call us behind the scene." I say, "Nah, or you don't listen." And I say, and you know what was said to me? That special instructions were given not to attack me. So it is the usual way of responding to truth by attacking people. And the point I'm trying to make is there are people inside there who their
They
stomach
know.
making odds, and they know.
There you are, pioc.
They know.
Bude you cafe pioc.
Now, if you know you cannot approach your leader, you cannot say
Yeah.
things to your leader, things are wrong. Then adopt an approach that will make your leader listen. Adopt an approach that will make your leader listen without vilifying,
Everybody's
without
best
make them
interest.
listen.
In our best interest. Because that's what good organizations do. That's how good organizations get better.
That's right. See, and people have that thing, and they've been cultured to think that if you stand up and you have a difference of opinion, that you are bad and
Right.
you causing problem.
Right.
There's nothing wrong in causing problem if you're speaking the truth. Where you
Absolutely.
ever see where you ever see light and darkness dwell together?
Oh my
Pour oil in water. Oil will rise to the surface. You cannot keep it submerged.
goodness.
So if it means you have to be different and not follow the crowd for the purposes of for the good
For
of
the
those
greater
who are,
good.
for the
For the
greater good, then
greater
do
good.
it. Then do it. Do you know the amount of people who have, compared to those who seek to malign me and say all kind of things about me, salacious things about me, you know the amount of people who have told me, Moving, I admire your courage,
That's right.
admire your
That's right.
strength,
That's right.
and speak if you have to. You know the
That's
amount
it.
of people like who themselves would never spoke to me.
That's
Said,
right.
bro, listen, speak if you have to. Now I have decided, and I've told you, I do not want to be on a where it's like I have an agenda to just attack people.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. You
when the
have other
need
things to do.
arises, yeah, of
You have
course, I
other
have a
things
life
to
to live.
focus on. You got a life.
To leave. But
You know?
when the need arises for me to speak, nobody's going to stop me. I served the government of Dominica, three different government parties in power for 30 years and 8 months. 30 and 8 months. If that doesn't earn, besides being born and bred in Dominica, if that doesn't earn me the right to speak
Hmm.
about anything that is affecting the country. I could be one of those who could say, my mother died, my father died, I don't money, I don't have
You have
nothing in
no
Dominica.
interest.
One
Right.
child I have left in
Right.
Dominica.
Right.
You understand me? And I could say, well, you know what?
Let them.
Who
Let
burn,
them.
burn, who
Yeah.
aki manger fair. No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that's not Dominica is
I think a lot of people have actually come to that place of just desolation, of just like, you know what? Let them burn. Because there's a part of me that says that I understand it too. It's like a junkie who refuses, who's in denial, is going to have to feel the burn, hit rock bottom very often before they start coming back up. But that's one way to do it. That's one way to do it. And I sense a lot of people are in that place where they're like, I'm just not even full. Let people do what they're gonna do. I have nothing to say. Just don't call me for Barrel and Western Union.
and it's
Like I
and let me
might
tell you,
say,
and that's the easy thing to do. That is easy to do. You
yeah,
get to a position where you are able to take care of yourself. There's no apparent
there's no
reason for
need.
you to want to go. So you could do that. You understand me? But no,
Mm-mm.
no. I mean, there are people that I love in Dominica. If I love every Dominican, but there are people who are hurting. I mean, I have colleagues who I used to work with in the public service who are victimized so badly that they have to leave. They didn't want to leave, but they had to leave because of what they've been put through. Because somebody said to a boss that person doesn't support you, but it's not the
Get
person's
out of here with that
because
mess,
judge the person on their performance. Judge the person on their performance. You want to
please.
victimize people, and because somebody doesn't support your political party, or because somebody,
Get
uh, uh,
out of
you know,
here.
and that is why I admired Ed Regis. I admired Ed
Mm,
Regis. That brother. He died,
mm.
and may his soul rest in peace.
So he would speak up. He would say
Oh
when
yeah,
he wasn't in agreement.
oh yeah. And that brother didn't know red, he didn't know blue, he didn't know green. And I know
He
he was
knew people.
despised by his own because of that. He was despised by his own because of that. You understand
Oof.
me? Yeah, because Ed, I in my presence, Ed would make representation on behalf of anybody that
Oof.
genuinely needed help. And because of his position and his stance, he was despised. You understand? And there were a few of us like that.
Mm, mm, mm.
Let me tell you, I can say it now. When I was asked to go to the Virgin Islands to replace the then Lauren Barnes Roberts, and I'm saying it, I'm repeating now, when I was asked to go, and out of respect, I did. The next thing that came to me was, oh, I'm being told that you in St. Thomas interacting with and it's UWP people you're spending your time with. Yeah. And that's where stuff start to go downhill. I mean, I am thinking if I am sent to represent the country, I have a responsibility to everybody. I I'm not there to say, well, are you a labor right? Are you a worker? Are you a freedom right? Are you a non right? You understand? And those are the kind of thing that stagnates the country's
iPhone
growth.
6 shenanigans, iPhone
You
6
know,
moves.
those are the kind of
And we
things.
make
Those things
progress.
will never support those things. They're telling me,
How can we make progress when you miss out on the juice, on the fire, on the skills of those UWP people that are Dominicans where you are? That's the fallacy. That's the mistake we're making. That's what's keeping us behind. We can do what we want. If you will not use all of your people, use the dormers. You're a dormers. You're missing out on half of your population. And
but
nature
my
put them
friend,
there for a reason.
but my friend,
Okay?
look, use you and I as examples. You and I, we grew up together. We like you, like when we call cottage people know, we used to hold hands going to school.
Cottage to Clifton.
You and I probably have never attended the same church. Never. So I supposed to be upset with you. You're supposed to be upset with me.
So imagine, think about this, right? So let's suppose we're in Dominica, right? I have my skills, you have your skills, and we say, well, no, I don't agree with the way you're running your policy. And say we get victimized, we get shut down, whatever plans you have maybe to do to build some business, to employ people, that gets interfered with, it gets shut down. Do you see how the country loses?
Absolutely. But look at the migration of all our human resource. People leaving, and the reasons for the leaving, they're telling you, bro, I cannot take it again. And these are people, intelligent people we need in certain sectors. They're gone and go and give that to another country.
And just give it to another country. That is a part we're not seeing. When we start telling each other, oh, Tufe, because I have a different opinion than you. Tufe, what are you talking about? You're essentially telling me to unalive. What? Because we have different opinions. Do you not see the craziness? It is psychotic. It is psychotic. It is diagnosable. You've got to a state of delusion. You're not living in reality when you exist like that.
So you understand the amount of work you have to do. You understand the amount of work you have to do, because your profession
So,
tells you that you have a lot of sick people in the country.
so look, Amma says iPhone 6, though I can attest. It took me years to get an iPhone, and when I did, it was a 6. And then it's a problem to get an 8. Look, it's this year I get a 14. So, Amma, I understand. Look, my daughter, baby girl, was in love with her iPhone 6, right? And all the new upgrades are coming. You just bring your old one, you get a free phone, essentially. This girl held on to her iPhone 6.
You're
Finally,
preaching to
she
the
caved this
converted.
year.
You're preaching to the
Finally, she caved.
converted.
Finally, there were certain things, programs she could not access on the 6. She
Mhm.
had to break down. Meanwhile, I am all the way up, hitting
And that's
40.
simply because you don't want to go through the changes, of adapting to all the new features. And
Not
once you get it, you're
realizing
like,
what you're missing out on. You're
and
losing so much,
once you get it, you're like, what? But that
right?
wasn't so difficult.
Right?
Mhm.
That's where we are. That's where we are. That's where we are. And so I am hoping in these next 5 minutes as we start wrapping up. I have to mention Ama's beautiful insight that the barrel economy is going to change
I saw that. Yeah.
because she's correct. I'm not sure what it is about my generation that we did the barrels, but we did not. My kids know about barrels. They've helped me, but that is not a thing that say they know how to do or that they've done themselves. So with that generation, that way might die off, might really taper off. So the generation that is mirroring them, their age, they better start building their farms
Mm-hmm.
and employing themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or else, yeah, it will hurt.
Or else okay, so say sell.
There are people that say that, not me. They will have to go. They will
Oh
have to
yeah.
walk up
You,
plenty
you, you,
steps.
you
If it's
remember
not,
that one? You remember that one? So say
I heard
sell.
that. If not, they will have to climb up plenty steps, and they will have to say,
I
take
know they'll
care.
have to use the term of brother. Oh, this is brother husband Revere. They'll have to genuflect.
Papa Baudier, I feeling so bad at the thought that people have to do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, master. Yeah, boss.
Mm,
Please, I want give me a little. I come for. I come for.
mm.
Oh, oh
And
my God.
you get enough to keep you for you to come back next time.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's very sad to think about. But again, once the soul gets, when we get back to our spiritual grounding, the
Yeah,
disconnect will be so glaring. Just even as you are truly walking a Christ like walk, when you see these things that are so against what you say you believe, your righteousness must show up and rescue
of
you.
course.
That's my hope. So
Righteousness is like oil, I say. You can't keep it submerged, man. It
nah
must rise to
man,
the surface.
nah man, nah man, nah man. No matter what, at a certain point you will get to where you're like, okay, all right, that's enough. Yeah, I'm not putting up with this anymore. Whatever the reasons. Yeah. What a lovely conversation. Look, it's been a while.
Absolutely.
That's our catching up. Look at us. We live
Yep.
so close to each other, but I
I
don't see
know,
you.
man. Don't say that. Don't let people know that, man.
I'm not
Yeah,
seeing you. I'm not hearing you. This
I
has been
know,
my
man.
opportunity to catch up.
Yeah, yeah,
In closing, Amma says it will change. It must change, Amma. The seeds have already
yeah.
been planted. The consciousness is
Absolutely,
raising. It's
absolutely.
unavoidable. I'm telling
Mhm.
you, it's unavoidable. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah, it's
absolutely.
unavoidable.
Like I said,
Mhm.
just the vibe I'm getting. I mean, it's gonna change, man.
It
It's gonna.
must. Yeah, nothing lasts forever. It's a law of the
Yeah,
universe. It must. The pendulum must swing back.
of
It's
course.
just it must. It must. So in the
Hmm.
meantime, I appreciate you all who stayed with us the entire time and those who kept coming in. Yeah, this is me and Mervin having a
Yeah,
hey, I haven't seen you in a while.
yeah,
Friends go out. Some friends I'm Mervin, they go out and they have a beer, right? Or
yeah.
they go and eat. This is what we do.
Anyway, well, we need to meet, man.
We
It's
do.
come on,
That's
man.
kind of
We gotta
sad.
make the time. Yeah, we need to meet. We need to meet.
That's just
The next time we come on live, we'll be able to say that we met. I make that promise to you publicly.
that's right. That's right.
I make
That's
that
right.
promise to you publicly.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Jacqueline, look, somebody
yeah,
came very late.
yeah.
Sakafet.
My
Look,
good friend.
look, Mervin, that is the only person that when Dr. Trippin peeping outside, if I was going to say border, I change in my words. The only person I
Yeah,
change in my words for.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
yes.
man. It was really good. I think we will talk soon again. I'll tell you why, because the budget is coming up and I would love for us to listen to it. I usually get my copies from whoever and we could look at it
All
because it's
right.
gonna be interesting. It's crucial times
Yeah.
economically, globally. It's gonna be interesting to see what is being put in place.
And we're doing all these big projects,
Yeah,
the airport, if as that
yeah,
progresses. That's a big
yeah.
deal. And
Hmm.
yeah. But yeah, y'all. Everybody
Hey,
knows
listen, man.
Dominica, man.
Yeah, it's been good, and
Yes.
I thank God for you and that you're well, and
Same here. Same here.
let's vibe again, all right?
Let's vibe again. And people, y'all, let's just ease up on the pressure of the
Yeah,
politics pressure. You
yeah,
don't like me because I don't like your party.
yeah.
Think about this. Like say that out loud twice.
Yeah,
Say that out loud twice.
44 years independence. Is that it? With
Right? Yeah.
44 years, the
Yeah.
country we supposed to be a mature people, man.
Yeah.
We
Like
can
just say that out loud.
we can disagree and don't be bitter. We don't have to hate. We can just disagree and
You know what I'm
hey,
saying?
it is what it is, man.
Like write it down on a piece of paper and say, I don't like her. I don't like Dr. Trippin because she talking bad about my party. I don't like Dr. Trippin because she don't like my party. Write it like you write in lines and see how absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, man. We have to kind of put away that bitterness. The politicians thrive on that. That's what they want. So
That's
we have
what
to
they
be
want.
aware. We have to be aware. We can't be tearing each other up because you have a different view on a project or you a different view on a policy. That's going to be always. That's what makes the world go round.
It's supposed to be this way. We're supposed to have our own perspectives and
Yeah,
share them with the group, and then together,
yeah.
you choose what might be working best, as
That's
opposed
right.
to die, die, die. Uni pumo, Pascal Upaka.
Yeah. People hate you, people threaten you because, man, nah.
Let's not do that anymore. Let's release that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's release that way of interacting with each other on account of
Mhm.
politics, because
Mhm.
the only people who are benefiting from it are the politicians and
That's
not
right.
us.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Okay.
All right, man. Have a blessed
See,
weekend.
we can parler a lot more.
Of course. Bless you.
That's right.
Mhm.